Welcome to HOJO Radio. And now a radio crime drama that ran on CBS from February 27th, 1949 to August 1st, 1954. Produced and directed by Elliott Lewis, the opening theme of I'll Take Manhattan introduced Detective Danny Clover, played by Larry Thor, a hardened New York cop who worked homicide from Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. We present to you Broadway's My Beat.
Broadway's My Beat, with Anthony Ross as Detective Danny Clover.
Broadway's My Beat. From Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. It's not a street, it's a merry-go-round, where you can't tell whether that man in front of you is thinking about a milkshake or murder. Well, that's the street I'm walking. It's around 4 on a Saturday afternoon when I get to Times Square. I'm standing by the police information center there, thinking how cute the pretty kids, all dolled up and out with their boyfriends. I'm talking to the cop on duty when...
Excuse me, officer.
Just a second,
a
ma'am.
nervous young doll, looks like from the 3-Eye League, a cinch she's from out of town, comes up to the duty sergeant.
What can I do for you?
Well, I know this is going to sound silly, but my husband...
Yes?
Well, I don't know what's happened to him.
You mean he's lost?
Well, I hope so.
Huh?
That is, I'd rather he was lost than run over or...
Take it, Danny.
Detective Clover, ma'am. Broadway squad. Maybe I can help you.
Well, I hate to bother you, and I know it's probably all a mistake, but...
Yeah?
Well, Andy, that's my husband.
Uh-huh.
He left the hotel just before dinner time, about noon it was, and he said he'd be right back. But now it's after 4, and he's not...
Hotel?
Yes, the Astor right across the street over there. And he's never done anything like this before. And it's our first trip to New York, so I'm scared, maybe. Oh, I know he's probably all right.
What's his name?
Andrew Jenkins. He had his billfold with him with his name in it, so if
Well, that's a help, man.
And all our money in it, too.
Hey, Sergeant.
Yeah?
Hey, call the precinct. Tell them to check the hospital. Man named Andrew Jenkins.
Jenkins.
Andrew Jenkins, age...
27.
You got that?
Right, Danny. Hello? Conner at the information center. Line up.
Come on inside and sit down, Mrs. Jenkins.
Oh, thank you.
That's right.
I'm really embarrassed to come here with this story, but I
Oh,
don't know.
that's perfectly okay. It happens all the time.
And they always show up after, don't they?
Sure. Say, where was your husband going when he left you around noon?
Well, I don't know exactly. That's the trouble.
Well, didn't he say anything that would give you an
Well, he
idea?
just said he was going out on a mysterious errand.
Huh?
But that was just to tease me. You see, today is our wedding anniversary, and... But I'm sure he was just going out to get me a surprise present.
Yeah, sure. Any word yet?
They're checking.
How long you been in town, Mr. Jenkins?
Oh, we got here yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, any friends, relatives in town?
No.
Well, ain't no place you can think of where he might have gone.
No.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, you do that. Nobody by that name has been received at 3 o'clock, Danny.
Oh, can't you help me?
Look, lady, the best thing for you to do is to go back to your...
No, please, don't tell me to go back to my hotel room. I've been sitting there all alone for more than 4 hours.
Yeah. Hey, Sergeant, call the Astor. Any messages for Mrs. Jenkins, you pick 'em up. I'm going to take her walking.
Walking?
Yeah, sure. Come on. A little outdoors is very healthful. Oh, it's maybe not so good as the outdoors in Omaha or Idaho or one of them states like where you come from.
We're from Indiana.
Well, that's just as I figured. And you get to town yesterday.
Yes.
Now, what's the first thing you do?
The first thing, we checked in at the hotel.
Uh-huh. No phone calls to anybody?
No.
Well, then what did you do?
Well, We went out to have a look at Broadway, just a couple of hicks.
Uh-huh.
No waiting for seats, seating on all floors immediately. No waiting for seats anywhere in the house.
Well, which way did you walk?
Well, from the hotel, just where we're walking now.
Good. Now, you make like I'm your husband, and you try to remember everything you said to each other. You know what you looked at, the stores, the people, the movie houses, everything like that.
Yes, but...
Yeah, now, he went out to buy you a present, didn't he?
Yes.
He's never been in town before. The only stores he sees are these stores along here. Well, which one did he go to? That's what we want to know. So think.
Well, we didn't want to go to a movie, not the first night in town.
Yeah, so?
And then, well, I remember this nut store, and he said he didn't like the smell of nuts roasting.
Yeah, well, that's two of us.
And there, we stopped in and looked at this window at the little turtle.
Turtles?
Yes.
10 cents a turtle. Write your name on it and send it home. Hey, would he have come back here to buy you a turtle?
No.
Now think, Mrs. Jenkins.
Yes.
Wasn't there something you told your husband you wanted? Something that gave him the idea he should sneak out and buy it?
I can't think, Lieutenant. I can't think of anything except where is Andy.
Yeah, but you've got to think...
I know. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It's no good, Lieutenant. Everything I see reminds me of him. Yesterday, I remember how we stopped and looked at this window, all the jewelry they were auctioning off. Lieutenant, what's happened to him? Why can't you do something?
Did you look at anything particular in this window?
Well, what difference does it make? Wait, yes, there was something. An old-fashioned gold watch.
Is it still there?
Hmm?
Now, do you see it anywhere in the window?
No, it's gone.
Come on. Let's go in.
All right, $6.50 once. We'll make it $6.75. Another 2 bits for this elegant pen and pencil set. Do I hear $6.75? Going twice at $6.50. This is 18-karat gold watch, ladies and gentlemen. Guaranteed a lifetime of distinguished use. Do I hear? Sold for $6.50.
Hi, Eddie.
How's it, Lieutenant?
Hey, could I speak to you a minute?
Be right down.
Now, don't worry, miss. We'll find out if he's been in here.
I hope so.
Anything itching?
Well, it could be. Hey, tell your boy to take over a minute, will you? I want to talk to you.
Anything for you, sweetheart. Arnie, take it. Okay, Danny, follow me. What do you want I should be on the lookout for this time, sweetheart? A hot ferry boat?
It's nothing like that, Eddie. Hey, meet Mr. Jenkins.
Oh, a pleasure.
We're trying to get a line on a young guy who would have come in here about noon today, Eddie. Describe him, will you, Mr. Jenkins?
Well, he's about your height, only heavier, bigger.
He'd make him about 27, Eddie. From Indiana.
Oh, Indiana.
Yeah.
Yes, he has brown hair, straight, and hazel eyes.
Hayes, you had an old-fashioned gold watch in your window yesterday, Eddie. It's not there now. Well, maybe he came...
I make it.
Huh?
That did it. Sure. I make him now. A light gray suit and a green hat.
Yes, that's it.
It's a screwy thing, Danny.
What?
This guy, your husband, lady?
Yes, do you know where he is?
He come in around noon and he asks about that watch. And just 2 minutes before, a couple of guys are in asking about the same watch. 2 minutes. Less.
Yeah, so what?
Sure. I got him tapped. Indiana. Nice-looking young guy.
Oh, the watch.
Yeah. So, both these parties want I should knock the watch down. A real coincidence. So I knock it down. They're bidding against each other. They both want it real bad. Your husband? A stubborn character, lady.
Yes, well, if he wants something...
They bid this watch up.
Yeah.
I get $62 for it. It's white. I got news for you. It's white, maybe 25, the outside.
Huh? How come?
Beats me, sweetheart. The bidding's up higher than a cat's back.
Yeah, but who got it?
The young guy. Your husband, lady. He got it. Takes it away from me with a grin. If it had been any bigger, his face would have split. He goes out. The other two guys, the guys was bidding against him, they go out too. Looking pretty sore at each other. They didn't have any more ready cash with them.
Then where did he go? Which way did he go?
Which way?
Yeah.
Who looks? I seen the three of them standing out on the sidewalk for a few seconds. All the time I'm trying to figure what's with this watch. They should get so grabby for it. Then all three of them head up Broadway together.
Together?
The young guy, your husband, lady, in the middle.
But I don't understand. Why should he...
Is all this around noon, Eddie?
Give or take 20 minutes.
But I know he doesn't know anybody in New
The
York.
watch, Eddie. Where'd it come from?
Routine, sweetheart. In a consignment from one of the upstate pawnbrokers. You want I should look it up, maybe?
You tell me. Was there nothing special?
You mean, was it hot?
Uh-huh.
I give you my word,
But
Andy.
why should Andy go with these men? Those men, maybe they killed him or kidnapped
Oh,
him.
wait a minute. Hold on. I'll count to 10.
But
lady.
you don't do anything. Where is
Oh,
he?
look, I'll tell you how it was. He came in here to buy you this watch for your anniversary, right? Yes, he's feeling good because he got it, right? Oh, like Eddie said, he's grinning. He goes out on the street. Probably he says to these other two, come on. Come on, he says to them, I'll stand your drink. Celebrate. It's his anniversary, too, remember?
A very reasonable story.
Yes,
Yeah, but 6'2" and even, he's standing in a saloon right now having a friendly dram with his two new friends.
but then why didn't he at least call me?
Well, that's a question to ask him when he shows up. But don't let it louse up your holiday to New York.
Sure, and don't stay sore at him, lady. Remember, he bought it for you.
Come on. I'll walk you back to your hotel.
I just hope that you're right. But I'm scared. I'm all alone. I'm frightened. Any phone messages from Mrs. Jenkins, room 1526, please? No, nothing.
Oh, now just don't get rattled, Mrs. Jenkins. Look, just get used to the idea he's got this one wild oat he wants to stick in the ground, okay?
Well, you'll let me know if you hear anything, won't you, Lieutenant? If there's any report.
Yeah, I'll call you before 6, and that's a promise.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant. Are you leaving now?
Just over to get a cigar, Mrs. Jenkins, but, yeah, then I gotta get back to the station house. Don't worry, I'll call you.
All right. Goodbye.
Just for now.
Lieutenant Clover, who's the lady I see you with?
Hiya, lover. A couple of perfectos. If you can stop buffing your nails long enough.
What'd you do to her? She don't look happy.
Well, you can take warning, Sally. She had a husband, but she let him get away. Hey, let me use your phone to check in, will you?
It's all yours.
This is Clover, baby. Give me the precinct. What do you know for sure, Sally?
The most exciting thing that's happened around here all day is I got a run in my stocking. Like a cemetery.
Yeah?
I take my ossified oath. Nobody's even come around to try to get two on the aisle for Kiss Me Kate.
Hiya, Sergeant. Lieutenant Clover.
Oh, business must be tough. Did you see the fight at the garden last night, Danny?
Hold it a second, lover. Homicide? Where'd you say, Sergeant?
Get the bloodhound.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get right over.
Did I hear you say homicide, Danny?
Some guy got the business in a hotel basement on 45th Street.
Anybody we know?
Well, if we don't, it's too late for an introduction.
Got all I need. Hello, Danny. You got here quick enough.
Hi, Doc. Hi, Tom.
Good to see you, Danny. Hey, you guys got all the pictures you need. I want to lug this body out of here.
Don't bust your buttons, Junior.
Hey, is this the fella?
Yeah, stab, Danny. Very sharp knife, a stiletto probably. At least 8 inches long. Very neat, professional job.
There's not much blood.
Oh, very little, eh? You just left him here, leaning back against the wall.
Who found him, Tom? Porter?
Yeah, that's right.
How long ago was he stabbed, Doc?
An hour at the outside, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, he's still a little warm. Hey, Doc.
What is it?
I know this guy.
Yeah?
Yeah, you remember? About 10, 11 years ago, the bank messenger who was robbed right here in the district? Right here on 46th Street it was, remember?
Yeah, sure.
And we got the two guys who did it but never found the money. This is one of them. Wait a minute. Schultz or Schwartz or something.
Chance was his name. Clout Chance.
That's it, Chance. How about that? He gets it right back here on 45th. Hey, what was with his sidekick, the other guy? Druckman, wasn't it?
You remember. It took you fellows a week to pick them both up. They were sent up the river, and Druckman died in the pen a couple of years ago.
That's right. And this baby must have just gotten out, paroled. Am I right?
You're right.
All adds up, Danny.
What do you got on him so far, Tom?
Well, the clerk said that he and two other men checked in here earlier today, room 503. I've been waiting for you.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go.
These pass keys. Yeah, this is the one.
What have we got here? Hey, cut those ropes off him, will you, Tom?
All right. Hurry up.
Get him some water, Tom.
Oh, wait till I get my hands on those.
You talk fast, mister. Who gave it a chance, you or your pal?
Chance? Gave what? I don't know what you're talking about. Let me get to a phone.
Yeah, drink this water.
You'll get to a phone when I'm good and ready to let you. What's your name?
Just a minute.
No, just a minute, Jack. You listen to me.
Listen to me if you're a cop. I was practically kidnapped, drugged, tied up, and gagged, and I had a gold watch stolen from me. So don't you get tough with me. I'm going to make a phone call to my wife or else.
Say, is your name by any chance Jenkins from Iowa?
Jenkins from Indiana.
Well, how do you do? You go right ahead and make the phone call, Mr. Jenkins. Coffee make you feel any better, Jenkins?
Well, this is more like it.
That's good. Now, look, I'd like to let you get upstairs and see your wife as quick as possible. I know you want to go, but first...
What happened?
Yeah.
You want to know, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not too sure myself. I know I bid against those two men for the watch that Grace had said she liked.
Yeah.
And after, on the street, they suggested they buy me a drink.
Yeah, well, then what happened?
Well, we went to a bar up the street, and they started to get tough. Oh, shucks, I'd have given them the watch for what I paid for it if I knew they wanted it that bad, but they got tough with me, and I don't like that.
That I learned.
So when I said no, I guess then's when they doped one of my drinks. Next thing I know, I'm in that hotel room all tied up like you saw me.
Now think. Did you hear them talk at all?
Talk?
Yeah.
Yes, they talked. The younger one, he was laughing at something the older man said.
Uh-huh.
Something about how it had been right under their noses all along.
The younger one?
Yes, and I remember his name, too. The older man called him, Druckman.
Druckman?
What?
Never mind. Go on. What else did they say?
Well, then there was something about some gold or something. I think they were figuring on getting some money or some gold or something that had been hidden. It had something to do with the watch.
Words. Remember their words.
This gold they were looking for, somebody had scratched where the hiding place was on the inside cover of the watch.
Well, now, once they knew where that was, why didn't they take off right away?
Well, they said they couldn't right away. They said they had to wait for some reason.
Yeah, but what they said, the words, what was the reason?
I just remember the young guy laughing and saying something about gold and golden. It was ironical, he said, about the gold and the golden.
What was ironical?
I don't know, Lieutenant. I was still pretty dopey, I guess. Hey, what was this gold, do you know?
Yeah, it was the haul on a robbery. $40,000 worth of gold certificates. It was hidden somewhere. Somewhere near here, I'm sure. If only...
Anyway, they left me my money.
Here, I got the check. Skip it.
Oh, well, okay, thanks. The thing that gets me sore, though, is today's my wedding anniversary, and Grace wanted that watch.
No, I got to get along. You better get upstairs to your wife. Here, let's cut through the lobby. I'll walk you to the elevators.
Yeah, I guess I better. I phoned her I was all right, but I didn't mention all this. She worries. If only...
Yeah?
Well, it's just that I want that watch back.
If all I had to worry about was a watch.
Grace said she liked it.
Yeah. Hey, your elevators are over there.
I know. I want to get some cigarettes first.
Oh.
So, Lieutenant? Yes.
2 packs, please.
I hear it was the guy who pulled that robbery back in 38.
That's right, Sally.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Who killed him, Danny?
Well, there were these 2 guys, lover, and looks like one of them didn't want to go splits on the loot.
Greedy man.
Yeah.
Who was he?
From what Jenkins here says, it sounds like it must have been Druckman's son.
Druckman? Who's he?
Oh, Chance's original partner on the stick-up. Oh, by the way, meet Andrew Jenkins. This is Sally.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Excuse me. Hotel Astor Smoke Shop. Good evening. For tonight? 2 tickets? Well, I'll see. For which...
A cigarette, Lieutenant?
No, I never use them, thanks.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Well, if you'll just stop by on your way out, I'm sure I'll be able to arrange it for you.
You sure gave him the brush.
Big spenders. He wanted free tickets to the New Yorker Theater tonight.
Free?
Mm-hmm.
A New Yorker?
Hey, there's no New Yorker theater anymore, is there?
Oh, I know. It's one of those radio theaters now. I can't start trying to remember the new names they give those theaters. To me, the New Yorker is still the New Yorker. The Hammerstein is still the Hammerstein, and the Golden will always be the Golden, and the...
Sally.
What?
The Golden. That's on 45th Street. So was that stick-up.
So what?
You remember, kid?
Yeah, the Golden. Gold in the Golden.
No wonder they couldn't go right away. No wonder they had to wait. Today's a matinee day. The theater was full. Oh, what time is it?
Not quite 5:30.
Hey, what's with you two guys anyway?
The matinee crowd will just about be out. Now, you wait in your room, Jenkins, and I'll say... Hey, where do you think you're going?
With you, Lieutenant. I'm going to get my watch.
But I told
Let's
you to...
go. We haven't got all day.
Now, listen, kid. I'm letting you stick around, but don't go getting any ideas you're going to be a hero.
Don't worry, Lieutenant.
Hey, you! Where do you think you're going, mister?
Is that you, Rosie? It's Danny Clover.
Oh, it's you, Lieutenant.
Yeah.
For a minute there, I thought maybe you were...
Hey, you've been on the stage door all afternoon, Rosie.
All afternoon, Lieutenant. You think I'm crazy? Stay on the job all the time? No, sir. When the curtain goes up, I'm downstairs taking the lid off of those stagehands at gin.
How about when the curtain comes down again?
Oh, then I'm right back here on the job, Lieutenant. $6 richer.
You see anybody you didn't recognize around here? I mean, anybody had no business being here.
Huh?
Yeah, well, where'd he go?
Well, he stood around for a while until finally his girl come out, and then they went...
Oh, Rosie, cut the routine. I'm serious. You see anybody around here who didn't belong?
Yes, I did, Lieutenant.
Yeah?
Matter of fact, first I saw you, I thought it was this guy come back again. There was a young fella by here maybe 15 minutes ago, just when the house was letting out. Tried to slip by me on the stairs down to the cellar.
Cellar?
Sure. There's a basement here in the Golden. Runs right under the whole orchestra.
Lieutenant, he
Could
must
this
be...
guy have slipped by in the last 15 minutes?
No. Wait a minute. I had to answer the phone in the office a couple of minutes ago. He could have sneaked down.
Why, he must
he's-
still be down there. How many ways to get in the cellar, Rosie?
Well, one door back here under the stage. Another door up front in the downstairs lounge, but it's locked. But why should anyone want to get down there? There's nothing but steam pipes, furnace, and all things like that.
Show me where the door is under the stage, Rosie. And quick. Is this it?
Yeah, but here, let me open the door.
Close it! Never open a door with a big light on back of you.
Yeah.
You might as well send the guy in there a special delivery telegram.
But who would...
Never mind. Turn the light off. Jenkins, get back there by the stairs. You too, Rosie.
But listen, Lieutenant,
You save it. The light. Turn it out, Rosie. Thanks.
But we can't see.
Yes, you're catching on now. And neither can he. You're getting nervous in the dark, Buster? That's 4. How many you got left? That makes 6. No, you don't. All right, come back.
Lieutenant, what happened? Are you okay?
I should have remembered he had a knife. He'd used one already today. Hey, where's the light, Rosie? Come on, get up, you punk. You're not hurt bad.
Did he hurt you, Lieutenant?
Not a chance, Rosie.
What'd he do? Oh, stole that gold watch off of somebody, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Stole this gold watch over this fella here. Hey, look. Look, have a look, Jenkins.
Huh?
Now, see? Scratched on the inside cover.
Back of steam pipes, north side of Golden.
Yeah. Here.
Hey, what are you doing?
Just getting a peek at your wallet, Junior. Oh, I'll take charge of this 40 grand, too. Yeah. Yeah, it's like we thought. Her name is Druckman.
So what?
It was your old man that died in stir.
It's no secret.
I get it now. Before we picked him up for that stick-up, your old man hid the dough and scratched where he hid it inside the watch, but he wouldn't tell Shantz, right? They wouldn't trust him.
You're telling it.
He wanted to wait till they were both out of stir. And your old man dies, and the prison sends the watch they've been holding to your family. And you're such a bright boy. You pawned the watch. You never knew what it said there. It took Shantz to tell you.
He wasn't very grateful to Shantz. A knife in the back.
Yeah, but the state will take care of that. Here. Let's get this guy to the station house. And then get you back to your wife. I got a surprise for you, Mrs. Jenkins.
Andy, darling, where have you been?
Happy anniversary, Grace. Here's the watch you said you liked.
Andy, but where have you been? I knew you were all right.
I had a little more trouble getting the watch than I thought I would.
Lieutenant, where did you find him?
Oh, I walked into a room, and he happened to be there.
And the man said you paid $62 for the watch, Andy. He said it wasn't worth any more than $25. No,
I know, honey, but
you're going to find out that watch is worth a lot more than $62, Mrs. Jenkins. I mean, when the insurance company cuts your husband in on the reward.
Reward? What reward? For what? Andy, where have you been?
You know, it beats me, Jenkins.
What does?
Here's the whole police force, and especially the Broadway squad, has been trying to run those 40 G's down for the last 11 years.
Yes?
40 G's?
And you should excuse the expression. An apple knocker hits town from Iowa for the first time in his life, and in 24 hours he's done the job.
Listen, Lieutenant, we're from... Oh, never mind.
Indiana, Iowa. Anyway, they're both in the 3I league. Oh, the sidewalks are really crowded now. It's 6 o'clock. For me, the day's just beginning. The bright lights reflect green and white and red on the faces of the people. The people laughing, talking, hurrying by, on their way to what, I don't know. But chances are I'll have to make it my business when it happens. On the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Broadway, my beat.
Columbia has brought you Anthony Ross as Detective Danny Clover in Broadway's My Beat. With him were Charlotte Holland as Grace, Gene Carson as Sally, Frank Butler as Andy, and John Forsythe as Tom. Others in the cast were Maurice Gottsfield and Tom Hoyer. Broadway's My Beat is written by Peter Lyon. It is produced and directed by John Dietz, and the musical score was composed and conducted by Robert Stringer. This is Vern Bennett speaking.
HOJO Radio, we're your old-time radio headquarters. Stay tuned.
Broadway's My Beat, with Anthony Ross as Detective Danny Clover.
Broadway's my beat. From Times Square to Columbus Circle. The gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Where your safest threat is on the time of day. And even that they'll fix if they can figure an angle. It's not a street, it's a merry-go-round. Where you can't tell whether that pretty girl sitting over there in the convertible parked by the curb should be called Dimples or Double Cross. Well, that's the street I'm walking, and I got a little time to kill before I check in at the precinct station house, so I decided to look in at Stillman's Gymnasium, where box fighters work out, and watch the kids spar a few rounds.
How's it, Lieutenant?
Usual bunch of two-bit gamblers and matchmakers standing around on the sidewalk outside. And upstairs, a mob of guys watching the two practicing. I see a fight manager I know called Jack Siegel. He sees me, too.
Hey, Lieutenant, you're up early today.
Jack, boy, you're looking good.
Hog fat, Danny. A habit of eating.
Well, I hear a lot of people speak very highly of that habit in my time. Who are you eating off these days?
Is that a way to talk, Danny? You mean what future champion's destinies am I guiding at the moment?
Have it your way, Jack. You got a good prospect?
You mean you don't know?
No.
The leading welterweight contender? The best counter-puncher since Joe Gans? The pride of Hell's Kitchen? You don't know?
When the day comes that you don't have the latest sensation.
Only this time for real, Danny. Look, ring one. The boy in the green jersey and sweatpants.
He's a welterweight.
He'll make the weight.
Hey, I think I know that boy.
Terrible Terry Rogan. I teach him everything.
Sure, he's got a fight coming up at the Garden this week, hasn't he?
And the winner to get a crack at the title.
Terry Rogan, is it? I remember him when his name was Rogansky or some such, and he's fighting in the police athletic
Yeah,
league.
that's the boy.
Yeah, he's good. I like these quick weathers.
Well, that's all. He's gone 3 rounds. He's through. You want to say hello, Lieutenant?
Yeah, I'd like that, John.
So come with me. How you feeling, kid?
Okay. Some sparring partners you get for me.
What's the matter with him?
Keeps giving me the heel of his glove and the laces. All the time in the clinches, I get string in my mush.
So? What do you think Perini will be giving you Friday night?
Hiya, Terry.
This here's Lieutenant Danny Clover. Terry, shake hands.
Hey, I remember you. Lieutenant Clover, sure.
Sure, the PAL fights 3-4 years ago.
Sure. I remember you telling me how you was a fighter yourself years ago.
Yeah, but
You, Danny? This I never knew.
You could look it up. Right after the first war, I win 5 fights in a row, and then...
Yeah?
Then I lose 5 fights in a row. Look it up. Hey, you better get your robe on, kid.
Oh, yeah. You want to come back in the locker rooms, Lieutenant? Chew the fat?
Yeah. So you're going at the Garden Friday night, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Say, Lieutenant, remember that night in the PAL finals? I was just a kid then, Jack, fighting feather. Lieutenant here was in my corner.
Hey, what about Friday? You going to take this Perini?
Oh, who knows?
They were quoting odds yesterday, Danny. Terry's 2-1 to take him.
Yeah.
You should have seen that PAL final, Jack. It was before I knew how to use my right. I win that final with just my left hand, right, Lieutenant?
Oh, now I'm more interested in talking about Friday night, kid. Jack tells me you win, you get a crack at the title.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great, kid. I know you'll win. I'll be betting on you. You better grab yourself a shower.
Oh, yeah. Lieutenant.
Yeah?
You never can tell about fights, you know, Lieutenant.
What's the matter?
Well, it's just that I wouldn't want you to lose any money betting.
Hey, shut up. What kind of talk is that? You beat it to the shower. Tell Irv to give you a rub down before your legs tighten up.
Well, I was on
cut it out. Do like I say.
What makes you feel any better, kid? I never bet big on the fights.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Come on, Danny.
Yeah. Your boy's not exactly looking forward to Friday, is he, Jack? For a 2-1 favorite.
Let's get out of here. I'll walk you down 8th Avenue. Sunlight. The gym gives me the Williams.
I can't figure it. Your boy trying to tout me off of betting on him.
Grief, Danny. Do me a favor, forget it. Huh? He's like this all the time before a fight. Why, you should believe it, 2 months ago, we was fighting at the arena. What's the matter?
Hey, get that. Over there in that convertible across the street.
Oh, yeah. Her.
You know that? Boy, on a spring day like this, I could wish I were 20 years younger. Say, wouldn't that break your heart?
Yeah, she probably would, too.
What's the matter, Jack? What's wrong with her?
Come on, I got ulcers.
Hey, she's so beautiful, she's untrue.
Come on.
But you know her? Who is she?
Trouble. Trouble for my boy. Louise is her first name, Lindsay is her last name, but her middle name is Trouble.
Oh?
5 weeks ago, she turns up and he's been running around with her ever since.
It's quite a car she's got. She in the money?
Not that. The car is the kid's. He buys it day after he drops Kid Leviton in the 3rd.
Oh, forget it, Jack. A young fighter and a beautiful like that go together like 5 and 2. It's a natural.
Don't help my ulcers. Take it easy, Lieutenant.
Where you going?
Back to the gym. I get thinking. When I get thinking, I get worrying. When I get worrying, I got to get back and have a look at my boy. I'll see you around.
Hi, Danny. What do you know for sure?
Not much, Al.
Where you been, Stillman's?
Yeah, watching young Terry Rogan. He goes to the Garden Friday night.
Oh, yeah, Rogan.
What about him?
Keep your money in your pocket, Danny.
What?
Big Sig Sherman's in town, you know. Huh? I'll see you around, Danny.
Hello. Hello, I want to speak to Tony Florida.
This is Florida.
It's Danny Clover, Tony. Are you awake?
What time is it?
It's a little afternoon.
Danny, you know I don't close my club till 4 in the morning.
Listen, Tony, wake up, will you? You ever hear of a guy called Big Sig Sherman? Hello? Hello?
I'm still here, Danny.
Oh. I take it you heard of him, huh?
I heard of him. Very rapid citizen.
Am I out of line asking you about him, Tony?
You're never out of line, Danny.
Well, what can you tell me about this Sherman?
Big Sig is a businessman, Danny. A very big businessman.
Yeah?
He's a careful businessman. He likes to make sure of his profits, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, where's he from?
His home?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but he's got an address in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
What's he doing in town, Tony? Do you know?
Big Sig is in the syndicate, Danny. I think you better ask your other questions from somebody else.
But listen, Tony. The syndicate. So the syndicate is on this. That's all I need.
We pause to say there'll be laughter on the old Erie Canal and in a modern high school classroom tonight as Helen Hayes stars in the famous comedy The Farmer Takes a Wife on CBS's Electric Theater, and as Eve Arden stars as America's favorite teacher, our Miss Brooks. In The Farmer Takes a Wife, Miss Hayes will be heard as a canal boat cook who has to choose between farm life and the rip-roaring, colorful life she is known on the canal. As our Miss Brooks, Eve Arden will be the object of a raiding party by a rival high school faculty, the bait for her services being a handsome male teacher. On a night known for its comedy on CBS, you'll delight in the expert comedy of these two great feminine stars as the Electric Theater and our Miss Brooks come your way tonight over most of these same CBS network stations. And now back to Broadway and Detective Danny Clover, who likes to pick up his cigars and gossip at the same place, the Cleveland Hotel cigar stand.
Well, hello, sweetheart.
Lieutenant Clover. Just who I've been waiting for. What are you doing Friday night? Are you on duty?
Friday night?
A visiting fireman was by here this morning and bought a dozen tickets for the fight Friday night, and then turned around and bought 2 more. The last 2 for me. Ringside.
What do you know?
I did not either. All I did was smile at him and to say I wished I could get to see a fight sometime. You want to come with me?
I'll let you know later, Sally. Now, give me a handful of cigars.
Give me a handful of money. And what I hear, it's going to be a fight worth seeing. This Terry Rogan, you know, fighting Patsy Perini. The odds are 2 to 1, this character was telling me.
Yes, so I hear.
Well, and from what he was saying, he couldn't understand why Perini was such a favorite.
Perini's not the favorite.
Well, this character said he was. He said the odds had changed overnight. You think maybe the fix is in, Danny?
Did you ever hear of Big Sig Sherman, Sally?
I heard of him. Big Sig, they call him. They should call him Sure Shot Sherman, the way he hates to take chances. Is he in town?
Give me my change, sweetheart.
Say, what's your hurry? I offer him a free-for-nothing pass ringside.
I'll have to let you know about it later, Sally. I'm late to check in at the precinct.
What is all this? Assign you to the garden fight? Now look, Clover.
I'm sure it's not going to be a square rattle, Captain, unless I can just get the time.
I need every man in the squad to work in this narcotics hall, Clover.
Look, sir. Yesterday, Terry Hogan was a 2 to 1 favorite. Overnight, the odds switch.
Now the other boy is favorite. Same odds. They'll get even longer.
That's not evidence.
Not evidence. Captain Forster, you hear what I said? The boy was a 2-to-1 favorite yesterday. He's now a 2-to-1 short ender. Odds don't change like that unless something's up. Well, you can see what happened. Whoever put this fight in the tank got big money down here, Detroit, Los Angeles, New Orleans, all over the country. And then somebody talked. The word has gotten around. By fight time Friday night, the odds will be 10-to-1 in favor of Perini, who doesn't figure even to go the limit with Rogan, unless it's a tank job.
If you really think there's something wrong, pull in some gamblers and ask them questions. You know enough gamblers. What about your friend Tony Florida?
I've asked enough questions already, sir, to make me feel this fight is in the tank. Now, I can keep it square if you'll just assign me to it till Friday night.
Well, it's a waste of time.
Oh, it's just 2 days, sir. Tom Donnelly and
Donnelly's busy on the narcotics haul, and that's that. And you should be, too, and you will if you don't get out of my office in a hurry.
Thank you, Captain.
Oh.
Hiya, Terry. Can I come in?
Yeah, sure, Lieutenant. What's up? I'm supposed to be in bed by now, you know.
Yeah, I know. Jack Siegel said he didn't mind if I stopped by for just a minute or two.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You wouldn't know why I came by, would you, Terry?
Why, no, I got no idea, Lieutenant. Maybe to tell me to remember my right tomorrow night.
Yeah. In a way, that's it.
That was certainly some fight that night, Lieutenant. I'm glad you were in my corner. I learned a lot since then.
Yeah?
Sure, that Jack Siegel, he's one smart manager.
He's not too smart for his own good, is he, Terry?
What do you mean?
Something funny's going on with the odds in this fight, Terry. First, it's 2-to-1 on you, and well, if you wreck it, I figure it's an overlay at that. Then all of a sudden, since overnight, the odds get twisted around the way you're the long shot. How about that?
Oh, well, that's just gambler talk, isn't it? Who knows why these things happen?
Yeah. Who knows?
Hey, Lieutenant, you don't think I'd do anything, well, crooked, do you?
You tell me, Terry.
Honest, Lieutenant, you got me all wrong.
Who's this Louise Lindsay, Terry? How long have you known her?
Now, look, Lieutenant, just forget her. See, keep her out of this.
What's there to keep her out of, Terry?
Why, what we're talking about. I'm engaged to Louise, Lieutenant. That's absolutely straight.
Where's she from?
None of your business. She's my fiancée, that's all.
Oh, just your fiancée?
That's right. We're getting hitched right after this fight, if you want to know.
Sure. Congratulations, kid. Get a good night's sleep. I'm sorry if I sounded off a little.
Yeah, that's okay. Night.
Don't forget to keep your right hand up tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do that.
Evening, Danny. I saved the table for you. It'll be quiet over in the corner.
Thanks, Tony. Say, the girl show up yet?
Yeah, she's here. You're doing very well for yourself these days.
Something, isn't she?
Black hair. I prefer hair like that. It's on the level. With a blonde, who knows?
Oh, the hair, yes. You could be sure about the hair. And thanks, Tony. Louise Lindsay?
That's right.
I'm sorry to be late. I'm Danny Clover.
Sit down, Lieutenant.
Thanks.
What's so important you've got to meet me in a nightclub at 11 at night?
I understand you're engaged to that fighter, Terry Rogan.
Yeah, I called Terry to tell him he wanted to see me, and he got all upset. It's no good for him the night before he fights. Tells me you think there's something phony about the fight.
I was getting that idea.
And you think maybe I'm responsible, that is?
You've heard of the syndicate.
Syndicate? No, what's that?
You ever hear of a guy called Sherman?
Sherman?
Mm-hmm.
Sherman. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've heard of a lot of Shermans, but I don't know any. What's his business?
Well, right now I got an idea his business is bothering your boyfriend.
Look, suppose you stop talking in riddles and tell me what this is all about. You know you've got Terry all upset.
Hey, that's a big rock you're wearing on your third finger.
Mr. Clover, let me set you straight. I don't know what you're thinking. But Terry and I are in love. We're engaged to get married, and the day's been set. This diamond's no problem.
Oh, I can see that.
And I don't know anything about any fixed fight. The only thing I have to do with prize fighting is trying to see that Terry gets out of it.
He wins, he gets a crack at the title. Why should you want him to get out of it?
Because I don't want our kids to have a father with a tin ear and a buzzing in his head and a pair of broken hands. He's still young and healthy. Well, he won't stay young, but I want him to stay healthy.
You really like him, don't you?
You're catching on.
I'm beginning to think I had you taped all wrong, Miss Lindsay. But if your boyfriend is mixed up in a fixed fight, you'll help me then, won't you?
I doubt it.
How's that?
That's his business, not mine.
They boiled you about 10 minutes, didn't they, Miss Lindsay?
You think I'm hard-boiled. I'll tell you something about me, Mr. Clover. I was born in the hard coal fields of Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. My father was killed in a mine disaster down there. That was 19 years ago, and I was only 2. My mother had to bring up me and 3 others all by herself. If I sound hard-boiled, that's why. Now, all I'm interested in is getting married to Terry. We're going to buy a little business.
Oh, yeah? What kind of a business is that?
A dry cleaning business, maybe. Maybe you'll send us your trade.
I'll do that,
Oh,
Miss
there
Lindsay.
you are. I almost couldn't find out where you two were.
Jack, how are you? You know Mr. Siegel, Miss Lindsay?
We've met.
Hey, sit down, Jack. What are you drinking?
Milk. What'd you do to my boy? You got him all upset.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
He calls me, nothing will do, but I got to come over here and tell you not to bother Lindsay here. Makes me promise.
Oh, I wouldn't say I was bothering Miss Lindsay. I was just... you want me for something, Tony?
Sorry to bother you, Danny.
Oh, not at all. Excuse me, Miss Lindsay. What is it, Tony?
The man you were asking me about?
Oh, yeah?
He just came in with a party. I told Victor to seat him at this table next to yours. He's a big man coming now.
Right, Tony, thanks. Couldn't be sweeter.
Right this way, please.
Oh, hey, pardon me, you're Mr. Sherman.
That's right.
Oh, my name's Clover. I've been hearing a lot about you. You come to town to the fight tomorrow night.
You could get a reputation for being a pretty curious guy.
Oh, no hard feelings. I heard you were in town to see Terry Rogan's fight. I thought maybe you'd like to shake hands with his manager. Here, right here. Jack Siegel. This is Mr. Sherman.
Right.
Yeah, and this here is the Rogan's fiancée, Miss Lindsay, Mr. Sherman.
How do you do?
This the man you were asking me about?
That's right.
Mr. Sherman, I understand you've been bothering Terry about something. I won't say crooked because I don't know about that, but just don't get him upset.
You, Siegel, if you're Rogan's manager, why don't you see to it he don't get mixed up with pancakes like this one?
Well, now that you mention it, I think it's a good idea.
Now, let's all keep our temper.
Then tell Big Sig to move his load along.
You got some polite friends, mister.
Ain't it the truth? So please accept my apologies, Mr. Sherman. I'll see you around.
There's always that chance.
Whoever that was, Danny, he got my ulcers going again.
Well, I don't know why he should do that to you, Jack. How about it, Miss Lindsay? You want me to give you a lift home?
Yeah, I gotten pretty sick of this drum in the last couple of minutes.
Oh, by the way, you're going to the fight tomorrow, aren't you?
No. I don't like to watch them.
Well, then maybe you and I could listen to it over the radio together. Now, wouldn't that be fun? Good night, Jack. Sergeant.
Yeah?
Put this on the teletype to Washington, will you?
Sure, Danny, right away. Hey,
Dad?
Bureau of Mines. What's your business with them?
I found a gold mine last night. Go on, will you? Get on it.
I talked to that guy in Hot Springs, Lieutenant.
Yeah? So?
So here's all the dope he had on Sigmund Sherman.
Give. See. Picked up 3 times for vagrancy. Once on the Sullivan Act, once for... It's quite a guy. It's never an indictment, much less a conviction. Yeah, let's see. Operated racetrack, 1940-42. Slot machine business, 1940-45. Married, Havana, 1948.
Got all you need, Danny?
Yeah. Thanks, Sarge. Just make sure we keep a tail on him until I say different.
Can you make it to the fights tonight with me, Danny?
I'm sorry, baby. I got a date.
A date, Lieutenant, at your age?
At my age? Oh, I say it's business, Sally. No kidding. But you could do me a favor.
Tell me, why should I?
Well, listen, you know these unlawful citizens who take bets on various sporting events?
Yes.
Well, of course, it'd be strictly out of line for me to know any of those characters myself.
Are you kidding?
But I would appreciate it if you could hunt one of them up. Place a sawbuck with them at the prevailing odds.
Okay, a sawbuck goes on Perini.
I like Terry Rogan.
Well, I don't know him personally, Danny, but didn't you hear? This is a sure thing for Perini. It's all over town.
Nevertheless, Sally, do me the favor of placing my sawbuck where it'll do the most good. On Terry Rogan.
Oh, no, please, Danny. The boy goes on in an hour, and he's nervous enough now.
Not as nervous as you'll be later if I don't get to talk to him now. Which is his dressing room? That one over there?
You got a search warrant?
Jokes.
Danny, my insides are all churning around like a tornado, and now you come along...
Which is his dressing room?
Right here.
Thanks, Jack. Look me up after the fight.
Please. No.
Hiya, Terry. Hey, sit down, kid. I got news for you. Would you mind, Jack?
Look, give me a... Oh, why wasn't I an insurance salesman or a bricklayer?
Just a minute. Come in. Oh, it's you.
We had a date, remember? Well, now, don't tell me you haven't got a radio.
I'm just going out, Lieutenant. I'm meeting some friends until after...
Oh, no. You can't do this. You can't stand me up. We made a date, remember?
Yeah, but I...
Oh, no, goodness gracious. Look, it's after 10 already. The fight would have started. Ah, there's the radio. Hey, don't tell me you weren't going to listen.
I turned the radio off. I don't like fights. I don't like to listen.
This is going to be a good fight, Miss Lindsay. You may be surprised.
And there's a left to the body from Rogan. And Perini takes another to the head, and another and a hard to the body, like a whirlwind. And now Perini's trying to tie him up across the ring, and Terry Rogan gets in the left hook as they break. Yeah, this Rogan's really got killer in him tonight. They didn't tell me this was a grudge fight, but there's a right to the head and another, and a left to the midsection of Perini.
What's the matter, Miss Lindsay?
Perini's against the ropes, and now he's down. Perini's down. 3, 4, 5.
You surprised, Miss Lindsay?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Terry Rogan wins by a whirlwind knockout in 1:17 of the first round. And what a contender for the welterweight title this boy, Terry Rogan, is. Well, it's all over, and here is Bill.
I don't think you figured it that way, did you, Miss Lindsay?
I'm very glad for Terry, and glad it's over so
You
quickly.
know something? He probably never told you this, but I'm the guy that taught him how to use his right. In more ways than one.
Mr. Clover, I've got to go to meet him. I promised to meet him after the fight.
I know you did, Miss Lindsay. But you see, by now he knows that you're not going to meet him, and never really meant to meet him.
What do you mean? You know we're engaged.
Oh, I hand it to you, Miss Lindsay. You're a good performer. The trouble is your imagination is a little too rich for your blood. You got going on that hard luck story about the hard coal mines. But there's no hard coal near Pittsburgh, Miss Lindsay. The hard coal is up around Scranton. And about your old man dying in a mine cave-in, there were no fatalities from mine disasters near Pittsburgh 19 years ago, like you said. Oh, no, I know a lot about you.
Well, I lied about my age.
I figured that possibility, Miss Lindsay. Because you're such a good performer, I wanted to give you all the best of it. Then when Sherman showed up, you remember Sherman, Miss Lindsay? The guy you said you never heard of. Oh, you had to go call him by his nickname, Big Sig. And you never heard me call him that.
You're just bluffing. You've got nothing to go
now,
on.
Last night, if you'd said that, you couldn't have been smarter. But since then, Miss L., I had a chance to ask some questions around. Old police routine. Well, say, but let's not let all this talk upset our evening. Why, we got a date, remember?
Yeah? A date?
Yeah.
You think we can be nice about this?
Yeah. You and I are going to step out together. We're going to a place that stays open all night. A place on West 47th Street called the 16th Precinct Station House. Big Sig is waiting for you there. And you wouldn't want to keep your husband waiting, would you, Mrs. Sherman?
Well, good work, Danny. You sure you got a case?
Nothing on the kid that'll convict him, but the other two. Yeah, the file we got from Hot Springs ties the two of them up. They were married a year ago in Havana.
Yeah, must have been rough on young Rogan.
No rougher than it was on me. I had to be the one to tell him. First, he was just sitting there, bawling like a baby, you know?
I've seen the girl. I know how he must have felt.
Yeah, but that kid's a fighter. I could tell. The tears still wet on his face. He gets down off at the table, and I look at him. And then I begin to feel sorry for Perini, the boy he's going to fight.
Well, I hope the commission won't have to lift his license. Say, how about the manager, Jack Seeger?
Oh, he's in the clear. Never knew anything about it.
Where you going, Danny?
I don't know. Out. Walk around somewhere. You know, it's a funny thing.
Yeah? What's that?
She told him after they were married they'd open a dry cleaning business. The only thing she wanted to take to the cleaners was him. It's midnight on my beat now. The street's in full swing. If you want to get to the top quick, Broadway's the place to do it. But there are plenty of guys around. Angle guys. Weisenheimers. Digging holes to help you fall back to the bottom. I can only hope I find them. Those guys figuring angles on the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Broadway, my beat.
Columbia has just brought you Broadway's My Beat, with Anthony Ross as Detective Danny Clover. Gene Carson was Sally, Julie Stevens was Louise, Bill Quinn was Terry, Gilbert Mack was Terry's manager, and James Goss, Peter Capel, Paul Luther, and Ted Jewett were also members of today's cast. Today's broadcast was written by Peter Lyons and produced and directed by John Deeth. The musical score was composed and conducted by Robert Stringer. This is Vern Bennett speaking.
Our next radio drama is about a fabulous freelance insurance investigator with the action-packed expense account. The show aired on CBS Radio from January 14th, 1949 to September 30th, 1962. There are 811 episodes in the 12-year run, and more than 720 still exist today. Each story started with a phone call from an insurance executive, and each story ended with an itemized expense account signed, Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, right here on HOJO Radio. Next.
From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Dollar.
This is Ed Porter, Mr. Dollar. You called my office?
Yes, I'd like to see you as soon as I can, Mr. Porter.
Well, of course. How long have you been in town?
About a half an hour.
Are you all squared away?
I've got a room and I've had a bath, if that's what you mean.
Well, then I guess you're ready to go to work.
I will be as soon as I put on some pants.
You sound in a rush.
I'm always in a rush when I think somebody might be chipping us out of $100,000.
Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Western Life and Trust Company, 826 Spear Boulevard, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Markham matter. Expense account item 1, $143.69, air transportation from Hartford to San Francisco. Item 2, $17 for incidentals along the way, including transportation from the airport to the St. Francis Hotel. I walked the 8 blocks to the Commodore building where Ed Porter had his office on the 4th floor. He was a short, thin insurance broker with a face like a tight drum. He apologized for the clammy weather as though it were his fault. He asked me how things were out on the East Coast and invited me to sit down and looked as uncomfortable as he was.
I got the telegram you were coming last night. Investigator. I've never met one in all my years in the business. Must be very interesting work.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Mr. Porter, but I would like to get some information from you.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Dollar.
What can you tell me about a man named Floyd Markham?
Markham? Well, he's the husband of a client of mine. I've met him, but I really can't tell you too much about him. My dealings have always been with Mrs. Markham. She's my customer.
Then tell me about Mrs. Markham.
Oh, certainly. I'm not going to ask why. I'm sure you have a good reason for coming all the way to San Francisco.
The Home Office thinks I have an excellent reason.
Yes. Mrs. Markham. Well, I've known her for 20 years as a customer. She's wealthy, always has been, and she handles her money well, and she lives rather well.
Mrs. Markham's the one who has the money, huh?
Mr. Markham is a salaried man, an industrial engineer. Frankly, I think he depends on Mrs. Markham for his livelihood.
Ah, yeah. These 2 checks were issued to Mrs. Markham this year. Recognize them?
Yes. Full payments on 2 endowment policies, $50,000 apiece. And they've cleared the bank. Anything wrong with them?
Nothing wrong with the checks.
On payoffs like this, I always take it in person. It's a custom, of course, to call and make an appointment and deliver the check to the client.
Mm-hmm. And try to sell a little more insurance in the bargain.
Well, that's about the idea, yes.
Yeah. Anything strange about Mrs. Markham when you delivered either one of these checks?
No.
Before I left Hartford, I looked up her insurance records. Her premiums are always paid right on the button. Mrs. Markham doesn't have a business office or a business manager handling her affairs. The checks are always personal checks on her personal account. Now, can you explain why someone like that might forget a 3rd endowment policy?
Why, no.
Well, there is a 3rd endowment policy. It matured this month. I have the check with me for $50,000.
Well, yes, but this business of forgetting...
Floyd Markham called Hartford and spoke to the head of the endowment division. He explained that Mrs. Markham was ill and didn't know whether or not a 3rd policy existed. He said he was checking for her.
Uh-huh.
Now, you say you've known Mrs. Markham over a period of 20 years. Well, is she the kind of person who'd forget $50,000?
Oh, no one forgets $50,000.
Did you notice that both of those checks were deposited in the Markham's joint account?
Well, no. Oh, so they were. Maybe Mrs. Markham's feeling generous these days.
Why do you say that?
Well, they have a rather strange relationship as far as I've been able to perceive. I mean, what money he makes is his, and what she has is hers.
Oh, yeah.
I always like to get out of that house because they never seem to me to be a very close couple in any way. But this seems to make sense now.
How's that, Mr. Porter?
Well, now, I called up and made an appointment to deliver both of these checks. The first time I went over, Mrs. Markham was ill. And the second time, she had just stepped out for a few minutes.
Well, who accepted the checks?
Mr. Markham.
Both times?
Yes. As a matter of fact, now that I think of it, he made the appointment on the phone both times.
When was the last time you saw Mrs. Markham?
Last spring.
A check with the bank revealed that Mrs. Markham had not personally made a deposit since June the 18th. The deposit slips were initialed by Floyd Markham. The checks were endorsed by Leslie Markham. There had been no unusual withdrawals. Expense account item 3, $30, stenographic and notary services for the attached statements.
Mrs. Markham's been having her hair done here for nearly 10 years now. Once a week, every Thursday morning. Then she just stopped. I called her home, and Mr. Markham informed me that she was away on an extended trip.
Mr. Markham called us, it was last June, and informed us that Mrs. Markham was resigning her membership in the bridge club. I telephoned the house twice to see what was the matter. Mr. Markham answered both times and said Mrs. Markham was out.
Well, she used to come in here 2 or 3 times a month. Made us go over the car from top to bottom. She hasn't been around now for 7 or 8 months. I don't know who's taking care of the car.
Expense account item 4, 30 cents, 3 phone calls to the Markham residence. I didn't state any particular business. I simply asked to speak to Mrs. Markham. Each time I called, a male voice answered. Each time, the male voice told me Mrs. Markham was out, she was ill, and she was away on a short trip. Industrial Management Limited, Floyd B. Markham president, has a 3-room office suite near the Embarcadero. 10 years ago, it had been sensationally new and glassy. When I got there, the carpet was a little too thin and the varnish a little too thin, too. The whole place smelled faintly of mildew.
Yes?
I'd like to see Mr. Markham, please.
Do you have an appointment?
No, not exactly. My name is Harris. I'm with the Cleveland Pump Company.
Pump Company?
Yes, we're setting in 38 of our installations at the new plant in Valparaiso. Didn't you get my letter?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm afraid... May I ask your name again?
Harris, Stephen B. Harris, Cleveland Pump Company.
Oh, yes. Well, Mr. Harris, I'm afraid Mr. Markham never received your letter. When did you mail it?
30 days ago. Maybe it was 2 weeks. Well, tell Mr. Markham I'm here and I'll...
I'm sorry, Mr. Harris. Mr. Markham isn't in the office just now.
Oh. Well, I'll wait.
Well...
Well?
He won't be in today. As a matter of fact, he won't be in the rest of the week.
Where can I call him?
Well, I'm afraid that's impossible.
Can't I call him at home?
No.
Now, look, is he in business or isn't he?
Mr. Harris, Mr. Markham hasn't been in the office for 6 months or more. He's tied up on a rather long-range project.
What's your name?
I'm Miss Beidler.
Why didn't you say that in the first place, Miss Beidler?
Well,
Who else can I talk to here?
No one, I'm afraid.
You mean that's all there is in this office? Just you and him when he feels like coming in?
I'll tell Mr. Markham you were here.
The Markham house was on Fiorella Street, about 6 blocks from the Fairmont Hotel. Stone walls, iron grillwork, tangling ivy. An old house that had been built by rich people for rich people to live in. The kind of shabby-looking place that only New Yorkers and San Franciscans can get by with and still be called wealthy. I used Ed Porter's car, with the Western Life and Trust Company emblem on the door, parked it in the driveway as close as I could to the entrance. It was exactly 1 o'clock when the door opened. He was tall and pretty, with black hair and broad shoulders.
Yes? What is it?
I'd like to see Mrs. Markham, please.
I'm Mr. Markham. Can I help you?
My name's Dollar. I'm with Western Life and Trust Company. Mr. Porter called you?
No, he didn't.
Oh, well, I must have slipped his mind. He said he was going to call.
What's it about?
I brought a check from Mrs. Markham on her 3rd endowment policy.
Oh. Well, I'll give it to her. She isn't in right now.
Well, I'm supposed to deliver it to her. I'll come back another time when she's in.
No, you can give it to me. I'll see that she gets it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Markham, but I have
Look,
to give
I
it...
know you want to give her the check and try to sell her some more insurance. She's just not in the market. And you can save your little spiel where it'll do some good.
Oh, you misunderstand me, Mr. Markham. I have to deliver this to her in person.
What's your name again?
Dollar. Johnny Dollar.
Come in.
I'll wait till she comes back and make an appointment. Mr. Porter told me he'd made it for 3 today.
She's here. Just come in.
Why the runaround, then?
Mrs. Markham is desperately ill. I don't want to disturb her with things like this.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. What's the trouble?
Very serious anemia. So if you'll just give me the
check... I have
check,
a report to make out when I deliver this. Only take a minute to hand her the check. Then it'll be off my mind and off your mind.
Now, look here, Mr...
Didn't you call the company's home office about this check?
I called because Mrs. Markham requested me to call.
Oh, yes.
Just wait here.
In the little swirl of his exit, I smelled shaving lotion and guessed at the brand name. I also guessed that his suit cost $300, even if I didn't know what San Francisco tailor had made it. The shirt, the tie, the shoes were expensive, too. Yeah, Mr. Floyd Markham liked expensive things. I wondered if he dyed his hair to keep it all black. I wondered if he was 45 or 50. I also wondered why, in a house of that size, on that kind of street, a servant hadn't answered the door.
This way, Mr. Dollar.
He led me up a flight of stairs and finally into a high-ceiling room with a fireplace at one end. A gray-haired woman with a sharp, angular face was seated near the window, looking out over the city and the bay. She didn't turn her head when we came into the room, but I could see that her eyes were watery and slightly glazed.
Please, don't take too long and don't upset her. Leslie. Leslie, dear.
Yes, Floyd.
This is Mr. Dollar from the insurance company. He has something for you. Now, be a good girl, Leslie, and speak to Mr. Dollar.
How do you do?
And ask him...
Yes. How is Mr. Porter?
Oh, he's fine, Mrs. Markham, fine. He'll be sorry to hear that you've been ill.
I really would rather that you didn't tell Mr. Porter.
Oh.
I'm satisfied to make my own slow recovery. and not worry any of my friends. We'd like some sherry, Floyd.
Now, you know what the doctor said, Leslie.
Mr. Dollar, you'd like some sherry, wouldn't you?
Why, yes, I'd like that very much.
Floyd?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Dollar. It's absolutely forbidden, and you know that, dear. Do you have the check, Mr. Dollar?
Yes, right here. Here you are, Mrs. Markham.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Mr. Dollar?
Well,
Mr. Dollar?
Now, Leslie.
Yes? What is it, Mrs. Markham?
I'm very tired. Excuse me if I seem impolite. Good day.
Good day, Mrs. Markham. Expense account item 5, 10 cents. Phone call to Ed Porter at his office.
Yes, Mr. Dollar?
Look, Mrs. Markham's 5'5", about 120, black hair, gray streak to the right of the part, blue eyes, looks about 40 years old, a good 40.
Why, yes, that sounds like her. You mean you've seen her?
I've seen what's left of her, Mr. Porter.
Oh, good Lord, she's not dead.
Almost.
What?
He's killing her, Mr. Porter. My guess is he's been at it for about 6 months.
Act 2 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. Nobody will take a frown at face value anymore now that the word has gotten around about Jack Benny's return to the air. With Mary Livingston, Dennis Day, Rochester, Don Wilson, Mel Blanc, Frank Nelson, and Mr. Kitzel, nothing less than your very best smile will do for the occasion. Tonight, and every Sunday night, hear CBS Radio's Jack Benny Show and give your sense of humor a real workout. Now, Act 2 of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Markham Matter.
Take a rich old house on a rich old street in San Francisco. Walk in with a legitimate insurance check for $50,000 and tell a man named Floyd Markham you want to deliver it to his wife. Tell him this when you know that no one has seen or heard from his wife in 6 months. Just tell him you want to see her. Insist that you see her. Then stand around and listen to him lie a couple of times. Then let him take you to her. Give her the check. Say goodbye. 20 minutes after I walked out of the Markham's house and picked up Ed Porter, we drove back to the house and parked 100 feet from the entrance.
This is the darndest thing I ever heard of, Mr. Dollar. I'm not sure it's all clear to me. What's our position?
Oh, I wouldn't know that, Mr. Porter. That's up to the legal department. This much I'm sure of right now. Markham's already deposited $100,000 of her insurance money into a joint account. If I'm not mistaken, this last check will go into that account, too. Right now, while we're sitting here, she's probably endorsing that check.
Well, then I don't see where it's any of our
He's
business.
making her endorse the check. He's making her stay in that house, in that room, away from everybody.
Well, how? What way? He said she was ill. You said she appeared ill. I
don't know how he's doing it, but I'm going to find out.
Are you sure this isn't all surmise on your part?
You weren't in the room when she said, "Let's have some sherry. Please, let's have some sherry."
Well, I must be pretty
dumb. She was really
saying,
trying to say, she wanted him to leave the room so she could talk to me. So she could have 1 little minute to tell me what the matter is, what's going on. His next move is to deposit that check. Then one big withdrawal, the whole $150,000, and bye-bye Floyd Markham.
Mr. Dollar, I'm just an insurance broker. I don't understand that. Well,
how'd you like to be an investigator for about 10 minutes?
Me?
Yeah. You see that car that just pulled up in the driveway?
Well, yes,
The girl driving it holds down that dummy office of Markham's. Her name's Beidler. She might be in on this with him.
And that's Mr. Markham leaving the house.
Good. Now, look, here's what you do. Follow them. I think I know where they're going, but you follow them and make sure.
Well, where are they going?
To the bank to deposit that check.
Oh. Well, where are you going?
To have that glass of sherry, Mr. Porter. Ed Porter pulled his hat down low over his face and put both hands on the wheel and took out after that 55 Cadillac sedan. I crossed the street, went back up on the porch of the house and knocked. I didn't expect her to answer. I didn't expect anyone to answer, but I wanted to make sure. I went around to the garden. There wasn't a sound in the big old house when I opened the garden door and went up the stairs again. The door to her room was closed. She wasn't by the window anymore. She was stretched out on the divan. I felt her wrist for a pulse. It was there, faint, but there. About 3 inches up her arm, there was a series of little marks. I lifted one eyelid and felt her neck muscles. She was doped to the ears. Mrs. Markham. Mrs. Markham, can you hear me? Look, I've come to help you.
Me?
Yes. Yes, I'm going to take you out of here. Now, don't be frightened.
Mr. Dollar?
That's right. That's right. That's the ticket.
Insurance company.
Yes.
Now I remember.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for bringing my check. I don't want
Want what, Mrs. Markham?
Want any of my friends to worry.
Oh.
I'm improving, but I don't want them to know I'm ill. Just say I'm out of town for a while.
He told you to say that, didn't he?
Yes. He told me to say exactly that. Mr. Dollar, don't fool me. Please don't fool me.
What?
You will help me get out of here. You aren't fooling me, are you? Are you?
I carried her downstairs and put her in my car and drove her to the St. Regis Emergency Hospital. Expense account item $100, deposit with the hospital office. I explained as much as necessary to the intern who promised to advise me when Mrs. Markham became rational. After that, I drove back to the house. Ed Porter's blue coupe was parked across the street.
I didn't know what to do but come back here. And when I got back, I didn't know what to do either.
Slow down. You're doing fine.
Oh, you were right. You were absolutely right. They went straight to the Bank of America to deposit that money.
I kind of thought they might be back here. Eddie? Ed Porter settled the hat lower on his ears and gripped the wheel harder, and we took off for Angelo's on Stoker Street. When we got there, we didn't have to go inside to see if our people were still around. The Cadillac sedan was in the parking lot. So we took up a plant across the street.
Well, why wait? Why not go in and take them out of there and take them down to the police?
Well, that might blow the whole thing. Now, we have to wait and see what Mrs. Markham has to say when she's well enough to talk.
Yeah, but...
I'm sure she'll have some charges to prefer. In the meantime, we wait and see what's what.
Yeah, what do you think he'll do when he goes home and finds her gone?
Well, that'll be pretty interesting. What do you think he'll do?
Well, I imagine he'll think she got up and walked out.
No, he knows better than that. He's had her doped up for 6 months. He knows he can go out of the house and she'll stay right where he left her while he's gone. No, that isn't it.
Oh. Well, then he'll know that she had help.
That's more like it, Mr. Porter.
I liked Eddie. It gives me kind of a feeling.
Okay, Eddie. Now answer the question.
Oh, what'll he do? Well, he'll try to get out of town. That's it. He'll try to leave town. He'll know that he's had it.
Come on.
Huh?
They're pulling out. We followed them to a cocktail lounge near the Presidio. We waited around outside the place for 2 hours. Expense account item 7.25 cents. I called the St. Regis Receiving Hospital. Mrs. Markham's condition was unchanged. Item 8, $2, 2 hamburgers, 2 Cokes, and cigarettes for Mr. Porter and myself. We had just finished eating when Floyd Markham's Cadillac turned out onto the street. We followed it for 10 minutes. When Markham parked on a dark hill, we cut our lights and came to a stop.
Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, Eddie?
Can you see what they're doing?
Yeah?
What?
Necking.
Huh?
Necking. You know.
I should have telephoned my wife.
At 12:10, Floyd Markham turned the car around and drove back into town. We followed once more. We saw him double park outside a 4-story apartment house on a steep hill, let the woman out, then drive on. Eddie?
Yeah, Johnny?
Think you can handle something else alone?
Oh, I'd love to.
Women sometimes talk a lot easier than men. You keep on him. When he finds his wife absent, I want to know where he goes.
Wherever it is, I'll let you know. You gonna shake her down?
Something like that. Yeah. Get going. I watched my new assistant investigator follow out after Markham's Cadillac. Then I went inside the apartment house. I, Beidler, was on the mailbox of apartment 104. I walked down the hall, listened a minute, and gave it a try.
Yes? Well, what on earth are you doing?
I'm here to see you, Miss Beidler. It's important.
You're, Mr. Harris.
I'm Mr. Dollar, Johnny Dollar. I'm an insurance investigator.
Oh. There was something about you today. I wasn't sure.
Now you're sure.
Oh, what are you doing?
Right now, I'm working for Western Life and Trust Company. You'd better sit down.
Well, I don't know that I'd better do anything, Mr. Dollar. You're rather rude.
Then you can stand. We've been checking into Floyd Markham. I don't think I have to tell you what we found out so far. I think you also know that by this time tomorrow he'll be in jail and you might be right along with him.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Dollar. I simply
Don't be
under-
sorry. Just use your head. I said you might be right along with him. On the other hand, if you have some useful information, the insurance company might be useful to you.
What do you mean?
Well, I figure he sold you on an island trip or an estate in the country bill of goods. It'll be harder getting it out of him, but we'll get it one way or another. We'll get it all right. Now, what do you want to do?
I want a drink. You?
Oh, thanks.
I'm not bad. I'm not a criminal. I've never been in trouble.
You are now.
Why? Because I fell in love with him?
Because you were helping him kill her.
What are you talking about?
Mrs. Markham. She's in a hospital right now.
What?
I took her there myself today. He's had her doped with I don't know what for months. Having her sign checks, endorse deposit slips.
Funny.
Is it?
He told me that Mrs. Markham was out of town, divorcing him. I wondered how. You were right. It was a country estate. In England. A genteel life, he said. The London theater, walks in the country, little harmless things that most people can never do. He said we could do them as soon as he cleaned up his affairs. Why, tonight he said we could start packing.
I took Iris Beidler with me back to the Markham house. The Cadillac was in the garage, and Ed Porter's blue coupe was pulled up across the street. When he saw us in the cab, he walked up.
Hi.
Hi. How's he doing? You can talk in front of her.
Well, he hasn't done anything. No, I mean, I saw the light go on upstairs in Mrs. Markham's room, then it went out again. He's downstairs now, sitting in the living room.
Okay. Wait here. Hello, Markham.
Hello.
If you're worried about your wife, which I doubt, she's in a hospital.
Are you a policeman?
Insurance investigator. That's Miss Beidler in the taxi over there.
Oh.
I want you to come with me now.
Of course. Yes. You said your name was Dollar?
That's right.
Why couldn't you have come around, say, next week?
She'd have been dead by then.
That's the way she should have been for 16 years. Dead.
Yeah. Come on, Markham. Expense account, item 9, $102, hotel and board in San Francisco. Item 10, $116, airfare back to Hartford. Item 11, $42.16 miscellaneous. Remarks? This one will wind up in court. Mrs. Markham's charges will include attempted homicide, attempt to defraud, attempt to... In the end, it was his attempt to run away, and it didn't work. It never works. Even if you get away, you find something new to run from. Total expenses, $968.20. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here's our star to tell you about next week's story.
Before I do, I want to say something to you about Thanksgiving. Now, there's a day that deserves celebration. And heartfelt thanks to the God who made us for being able to live in the most free and peaceful and bountiful country in the world. And yet, why wait for next Thursday or any Thanksgiving Day? For Americans, it seems to me, Thanksgiving should be every day. Think about it, won't you? Next week in our story, New Orleans, the French Quarter, a beautiful girl, and high adventure. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by John Dawson, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in tonight's cast were Lois Corbett, Frank Nelson, Virginia Gregg, Bert Holland, Paula Winslow, and John Daner. Musical supervision by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Stay tuned to HOJO Radio.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Oh, hi, man. How's your stomach, Johnny?
What?
Rich food give you any trouble?
Who is this?
Why, your old buddy, Angie Orsatti.
Oh, hi, Angie. Glad you got my message.
Yeah. How about dinner tonight at Antoine's, Johnny? Shrimp gumbo, oysters Rockefeller.
Yeah, sounds fine. Only I've got to do some work first.
Man, I thought you was here in New Orleans on vacation.
Nope, little matter of fire insurance and the company's check for $16,000.
Somebody trying to cheat him out of it, huh?
You won't believe this, Angie. Somebody turned it down.
What?
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Providential Fire and Marine, 787 Greenleaf Avenue, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Royal Street matter. Expense account item 1, $103.82, transportation to New Orleans. Item 2, $4.20, cab from the airport to the Roosevelt Hotel. After unpacking, I put in the call to my old friend Angie Orsatti. Nobody knows the French Quarter or the people living there like Angie does. For 3 months of the winter, he stays in the swamp, trapping muskrats. The rest of the year, he lives with his mother near the Cabildo. Angie wasn't in, but his mother said she knew where to reach him, and 5 minutes later, he returned my call. We arranged to meet for dinner, then I phoned the agent who had sold the policy in question. His name's Binford, and naturally, he was anxious to see me. C.D. Binford's office is on the 3rd floor of the Hibernia Bank building. He's a stocky, red-faced man, probably in his late 50s.
Come in, Mr. Dollar. Come in.
Thanks.
Help yourself to the chair.
Say, you fellas sure don't waste any time, do you?
We try not to, Mr. Binford.
CD, boy.
What?
You call me CD like all the other folks do.
Oh, okay, CD.
Yeah. Now, like I was saying, you boys sure don't waste any time at all. Why, I didn't even call the home office till day before yesterday.
I know. When was the fire?
Last week on Thursday night. What'd they tell you about it?
Well, not very much. Figured I'd get all the information from you.
Well, it's a doozy. First time I've ever run across a policyholder who wasn't yelling for us to pay him yesterday for his loss today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who is the insured, Mr. CD?
Man named Dupas, Henry Dupas. Took out a policy for $48,000. That's full coverage on his antique shop down on Royal Street.
How long ago?
August, just 3 months back. I'd been after him for, maybe 5-6 months to buy some protection, but he kept saying didn't have the money.
Didn't have the money?
And one day I dropped in to see him about his car insurance, and right off he told me to write a policy giving him full fire coverage on the shop.
Well, how'd he arrange to pay it?
Cash, in full, the day I delivered the policy.
He tell you why he changed his mind?
Yeah, not exactly. Bet he mentioned something about times being better. I reckon there must have been.
Why'd he say that?
Well, a few days later, he had the back part of his shop all painted and fixed up. That's the part that burned. And he hired himself a girl to work in the office. A real good looker, too.
Well, what caused the fire? You know?
I sure do. Antique kerosene lamp got knocked over accidental. According to what Dupas told the fireman, he was in the back of the shop with a customer showing him the lamp.
Uh-huh.
When it fell, the fire started. The two of them tried to put it out. Reckon that's why they didn't call the fire department right off.
Uh-huh. And did Dupas tell you the same thing?
Dupas? He didn't tell me nothing.
Well, he reported the fire to you, didn't he?
He did not. And that's what's got me so riled up. I wouldn't know about it now if I hadn't dropped in there the other day.
Was Dupas there when you stopped in?
Yes, sirree. And when I saw how the place looked, the whole back of the store gutted out and a slew of his antiques destroyed, I let him have both barrels, I tell you.
Oh, what'd he say to that?
Well, nothing too much. Just acted like he wasn't interested in whether we paid for it or not. Didn't even ask for a claim for him.
That's funny.
Sure is. I thought maybe he was so upset over losing some of his valuable antiques, he didn't know what he was doing. So, after I checked with the fire department, got a copy of their report, I typed up a claim for him.
You figured the damage at $16,000, right?
Mm-hmm. I knew how much he spent fixing up the back. When I'd issued the policy, I'd gotten an estimate on most of the antiques.
So what happened when you gave him the claim? He signed it?
He did not. Said to forget about the fire. And when I kept after him, he called me a busybody and told me to get out of his shop and stay out.
What do you think, CD? You have any idea why he didn't report it or sign that claim?
If I had, boy, I wouldn't have sent for you.
I left Binford's office and walked over to Canal Street. The sun had gone down and a cool breeze was coming in off the river, bringing with it the smell of coffee beans and fruit from the banana boats. I crossed Canal and turned onto Royal, heading into the French Quarter. When I reached Henry Dupas's antique shop, I stopped. There are a lot of antique shops on Royal. All of them look pretty much the same. The buildings as old as the fine rosewood and mahogany pieces they shelter. There was nothing different about this one, at least from the outside. The fire had started and finished in the rear of the building. I tried the front door, but it was locked. I didn't think anyone would be there that late, but I knocked anyway.
Yes, who is it?
Mr. Dupas?
Who is it?
My name's Dollar, Mr. Dupas. I represent the Providential Fire Marine.
Why do you people persist in annoying me?
Well, we wouldn't if you'd tell us about the fire you
There's
had
nothing special about that fire, Mr. Dollar. It was an accident.
Well, then why didn't you file a claim? You're entitled to enough money to cover your loss.
Mr. Binford explained that to me quite carefully. If you haven't talked to him, Mr. Dollar, you should.
Oh, I've talked to him.
Well, then go away.
Well, not until you answer a few
No,
questions.
leave me alone, please.
I'd noticed an alley next to the shop that ended where the rear door had been. I started back along it, not quite sure what I was looking for or what I expected to find. But I was sure of one thing. Dupas was a frightened man. It was too dark to see anything at the end of the alley, so I returned to the street. Item 3, $30.50, phone call, taxi, and dinner for two at Antoine's.
Oh, man. Kind of nice, ain't it, Johnny? Oh, the way it never changes. Same waiter, same chef, same clientele.
Yeah. Like another Cafe Royale, Ashy?
No, thanks. Well, Johnny?
Yeah?
Well, when you going to ask me?
Ask you what?
Oh, don't kid me, John. You had that old bloodhound look in your eye ever since we sat down. What's the question?
Okay, Angie. What do you know about a man named Henry Dupas?
Dupas' antique shop?
That's right.
Oh, not much. Seen him around some's all.
Yeah, where?
Oh, you know what kind of places I like, Johnny.
Yeah, but I can't picture Dupas liking them.
Well, maybe he don't, but maybe that little old blonde he's been carrying with him does.
Blonde?
Yeah, you know. Female, girl, bleached hair.
I know.
Yeah.
How old?
Oh, 24, 5. Yeah, real nice for old coot like him.
Real winter and spring, huh?
Yeah.
You seen them together often?
Oh, a few times. Saw him about 2 weeks ago at Butcher's place. Hey, you know something? I walked in there that night with a 5, and I walked out with 200. How about that?
Great. You know who the blonde is?
No, but I might be able to find out. You want?
Yeah, I want. I left Angie and started back toward Royal Street. On the way, I ran up item 4, $1.85 for one flashlight and batteries. The shades on Dupas' shop were drawn, but I could tell there were lights on inside. In the alley, a small pickup truck was parked near the side entrance to the shop. In the back of the truck, looking like they'd just been taken off the boat, were several stalks of bananas. There wasn't much else to see except the charred wood and refuse left in the alley after the fire. I started back toward the street when a man, a much larger man than Dupas, came out the side door and got into the truck. He turned over the engine and switched on the lights before I could get clear.
Hey, what are you doing there? Hold it, mister, right there. Here, buddy, you just hold it. What were you doing back there, huh?
Well, right now, mister, I'm wondering what this load of bananas is doing in an antique shop.
What is it, Carl?
Well, I just caught this guy snooping around in the back.
What? It's Mr. Dull.
Yeah, that's right.
You know him, Dupas?
He's one of those insurance men I told you about.
Oh, well, what are you here for, Dollar? Didn't Dupas tell you he doesn't want any money from you people?
Now, why not? Because he's afraid we might have to take a good look around before paying
No,
off?
son.
Now, look, Dollar. Mr. Dupas has been okay with you people, so you got no reason to come snooping around. Especially after he's told you he don't want you around. So now maybe Mr. Dupas will have to do something to keep you away. Ain't that right, Mr. Dupas? You know what I mean.
Yes. Yes, all right, I'll do it, Carl. And he'll never bother us again.
Go on, Dollar. Get out of here.
At the time, I had no idea what they meant to do, so it wasn't easy to turn my back on them. But I did. And nothing happened. I went back to my hotel and hit the sack, and I must confess I slept later than usual the next morning. I was still in bed when the phone rang. Johnny Dollar.
Why, hey now, where's my dynamic northern friend?
Oh, he's off today. I'm taking his place.
Well, in the news I got, well, I reckon it'll keep till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, so long.
No, wait, Angie. Yeah. Did you find out anything about that blonde Dupas been seeing?
Sure, everybody around the French Market coffee shop used to know her. Used to, meaning up till she went to work for Mr. Dupas.
She worked for Dupas?
Yeah, in the office at his store. Started in there about 3 months ago.
Well, come on.
Well, since then, nobody sees her anymore. At least none of her old gang.
You know where she lives?
Yep. The Pont Alba Apartments. That is, unless she has moved.
Well, what's her name?
Rose Ellen.
What?
Yeah, she used to be a dancer. That enough for you to go on?
Yeah, Angie, thanks. That's plenty. Expense account item 5, $1.40 cab fare from my hotel to the Pontalba Apartments. The list of names on the register near the manager's office told me Rose Ellen's apartment was number 215. But when I got up there, the girl who opened the door wasn't a blonde.
Yes?
Oh, I'm looking for Miss Rose Ellen.
She isn't in.
Oh, she at work?
Who are you? I mean, are you a friend of hers?
My name's Dollar, Johnny Dollar. I'm an insurance investigator.
Well, she hasn't done anything, has she?
Well, not that I know of. Look, Miss...
Garbo.
Garbo?
May Garbo.
You're a dancer, aren't you?
How'd you guess?
Oh, I'm good at recognizing talent.
Oh? Would you like to come in? I've got some coffee on.
Well, that'll be just fine. Say, you've certainly got a nice view of the square from here.
I suppose.
Don't you think so?
Oh, sure, if you like that sort of thing. Me, I just think the square's kind of square.
Oh, that's good. That's very
I brought
good.
it up the day we moved here.
You and Rose move in here together?
Uh-huh. Oh, sit down, Johnny. Make yourself at home.
Well, thanks.
Gee, you're so polite. You wait to be asked.
Yeah. Look, tell me, what time do you think Rose will be home?
Oh, I couldn't say.
May, this is important. What time does she usually get home?
Well, I don't know. I mean, after all, she's got her own life to live, you know, and I'm not her keeper.
Okay.
Sometimes she doesn't get home for days. Oh, I better get the coffee.
She ever say anything to you about the fire?
Huh? What fire?
The fire down at the antique shop.
No, you want cream and sugar?
No, thanks, just black.
Good. When was that?
The fire? Last Thursday night.
That's funny.
What's funny?
That was the last time I saw her.
What?
Yeah. Rose went to work last Thursday, but she never came home.
Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment. You don't have to be a special investigator to know that Americans don't take their civic responsibilities lightly. The Election Day turnout proved that, beyond any shadow of doubt. So now it's time for you to face up to another responsibility to the nation in just as straightforward a way. Our Ground Observer Corps needs volunteers. We at CBS Radio urge you to write or telephone your nearest Civil Defense Center to learn how you can help in this vast program that patrols our skies. Now, Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Royal Street Matter.
This was the screwiest deal I'd ever seen. A guy refusing insurance money he was entitled to. Rose Ellen was my one lead, so I continued questioning May, her roommate. May told me this was the first time Rose had been away so long without at least sending for a change of clothes. I asked about Rose's boyfriends. She told me Rose had been going with one other man beside Dupont, but she didn't know who he was. After May promised to call me if she heard from Rose Ellen, I left. Expense account item 6, $1.90, taxi from the Pontalba Apartments to the Hibernia Bank Building. My insurance contact, Binford, wasn't in. So while I waited for him, I wondered again why DuPont had refused to sign the claim for the fire damage to his shop. Could he afford a loss of $16,000? I wondered if something had happened in that shop, something DuPont tried to cover up with a fire. I was wondering what it could have been when Binford walked in.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Johnny. We got trouble.
Oh?
I hear you paid DuPont a call last night.
That where you've been?
Yeah. He phoned me about 10, wanted me there fast. Oh, boy. I wish I had sense enough to stay away.
Well, what happened, C.D.?
Now, before I tell you that, you tell me what he said to you last night.
Nothing important. Just something about fixing it so I couldn't bother him again.
Oh? Well, he did.
How?
He canceled his fire insurance policy and every other policy he ever bought from me.
Cancel?
Yeah. So you might as well go on back to your hotel and pack, Johnny. It's none of your affair now, no matter what he's up to. Yeah, it's too bad it had to turn out this way. You want a drink before you go?
Yeah, I guess I need one.
Yeah. What'll it be, scotch or rye?
Scotch, neat, please.
Good, saves making a mess. When you reckon you leave?
Oh, I don't know. I'll check with the airline when I get back to the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Thanks.
Better luck next time. Well, that's that.
CD.
Hmm?
What about the policy?
Policy?
Did he return the policy to you?
No, I said do it tomorrow.
But he's covered until he does return it. Does he know that?
Why, no. I don't reckon he does.
Good, good. He might get careless. And as long as that policy is in force, I can bother him as much as I want.
Oh, I don't see what's the use, Johnny. He'll have it here by tomorrow evening.
That still gives me 24 hours to get lucky. CD, you said something about a customer being with him when that kerosene lamp was knocked over.
Mm-hmm. According to what he told the fire department, there was.
You had that person's name?
Well, I should have. I took it from the fire department report, and I've got that right here. Here it is. Now, let's see. The name was Andrew W. DeLong. Address 1515 West Claiborne.
There wasn't any Andrew DeLong at that address. We checked the telephone book and the city directory, and the only Andrew W. DeLong we found was out in Metairie, in a mausoleum. So we drove back towards CD's office.
Well, now what, Johnny?
Dupont.
What?
Find out everything we can about Dupont and everybody who works for him.
But ain't nobody but his secretary and his assistant. A fella named Carl.
Yeah, how long has Carl been working for him?
Oh, about as long as she has.
Does this Carl own a fruit stand?
Well, not I know about. Why?
Oh, I just wondered. Hey, what time is it, CD?
2:15. Say, if we're going to check on Dupas' credit, we better get to the bank before the close.
You're driving. Let's move. Expense account item 7, $22.80. Telephone calls and a couple of gratuities to obtain a lot of information about Dupont. I learned, among other things, that he'd banked almost $11,000 in the past 3 months. Before that, almost nothing. But there's no law against making money, so I still had nothing concrete to go on. At 5:30, I left Binford, went back to my hotel, and there found a message from May, Rose Ellen's roommate, asking me to go to her apartment immediately. So I did.
Oh, Johnny.
Yeah, hi, May.
Oh, well, come in. Johnny, you know what you made me promise.
Yeah?
Well, it happened.
You mean you've heard from Rose?
Well, no, not exactly. But a man called this afternoon and talked about her.
Oh, well, I hope he had only nice things to say.
Oh, yes, he said she's just fine.
What?
Didn't you hear me?
Yeah, he said she's fine.
Fine.
Well, what else did he say?
Well, he said he was going to come by at 4 o'clock and pick up her clothes. I should have them ready.
No, but of course he didn't.
Well, he did so.
He did? Oh, what man? You know him? You get his name?
Mr. Dollar, you don't think I'd let Rose's things go out of here with a complete stranger, do you? Of course he told me his name.
Well?
You aren't nearly as polite as you were this morning.
All right, I'm sorry. What's the man's name, darling?
Oh, well, that's much better. It's Grant.
Grant?
That's right.
That doesn't register.
From the way he talked, he must be the one Rose was going with while she was dating that old antique.
You ever see this guy, Grant, before?
No, but I'm sure he's the one she talked about. Really, it used to get so tiresome. Carl this and Carl does that. Oh.
What?
I said, oh.
May, tell me, where did he say he was taking her clothes?
Well, he didn't say. He just put them in that old truck.
Thanks, sweetheart. See you later. I needed a fast car and a driver who could handle it, so I called Angelo Arsati. 20 minutes later, we parked in front of Dupas' antique shop. There was a dim light on inside. Now, look, brother, there's really no reason for you to get mixed up in this thing.
Oh, you kidding, son? Looks like Dupas ain't gonna answer.
All right, let's see what this hunk of stone will do to the glass. Here.
Hey, that got it. I can reach through the lock.
Looks like nobody here. Well.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, I see him. Carl, what happened to you?
Dollar.
Angie, call an ambulance. Tell him a man's been stabbed here.
Yeah, right, Johnny.
Dollar. Get to her before he can.
Dupont?
Gonna
kill Rose. You got to help her.
DuPont wants to kill her? Why?
She found out. Smuggling.
Is that what DuPont's been up to?
Smuggling in banana shipments. Rose found out.
Where is she?
He thought I'd killed her, but I love her.
Yeah, well, look, tell me.
You gotta get to her before he does.
Where is she?
Old Spanish fortress.
Yeah?
Out on Bayou Slidell.
Old Spanish fortress on the Bayou Slidell.
Yeah.
You know where that is, Angie?
Oh, sure. An old ruin out in the swamps north of town near the highway bridge that goes over to the Gulf Coast.
Carl, how long ago did DuPont leave?
10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, we could beat him, Johnny, by cutting across the swamps. That is, if you could take it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's rugged.
Like what?
Johnny, did you ever ride a swamp buggy?
Oh, brother. How much farther, Angie?
Well, should be right up ahead.
How can you tell? All I can see is swamp and marsh grass.
Yeah, well, I done a lot of trapping out here. I know the channel.
Think we'll make the old ruins before DuPont?
Well, we got to, don't we? Hey, there it is.
That old wreck is called a fortress?
Man, that's it.
Well, get us up as close to it as you can. I don't see anybody parked. Somebody approaching the bridge.
There we are.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, look, John. There she is at the side entrance.
Yeah, I see. Rose! Rose Ellen!
She's scared. She ducked back inside.
Rose! We're friends of Carl's. He sent us to help you.
Well, come on, Johnny. We can get inside to her through this here doorway.
Okay. This place looks like it's about ready to fall apart. Rose!
Yeah, man. Dark in here, too.
Yeah.
Don't step on them falling bricks.
Okay. Rose! Rose Ellen!
Yes? Where's Carl?
DuPont tried to kill him.
Oh, no.
Rose! Come on out here where we can see you. Rose!
He found out that Carl didn't kill me, is that it?
Yeah. But Carl's all right now. Look, Rose, I want you to tell me all you know about the fire at DuPont's shop. Were you there?
Yes.
Well, what happened?
Pa had me tied up. Told Carl I'd found out what they were doing. The smuggling, I mean. He told Carl to kill me. He didn't know Carl and I was going to be married.
Go on.
Carl argued with him. That's when the lamp got knocked over. They didn't stop arguing until DuPont said he'd kill us both. So finally, Carl told DuPont he'd take care of me. Well, he had to, or DuPont would have killed us.
But instead, Carl brought you here.
Yes.
Oh, come on, Johnny. Let's get out of this dark hole.
Wait a minute, Angie. Rose, do you know why DuPont was afraid to report his fire to the insurance company?
Some of the things he smuggled in was lost in the fire. If anybody come poking around, they might have found out what he's doing.
What was he smuggling, do you know?
Little tiny boxes filled with white powder, hidden in the bananas.
Johnny, narcotics.
Yeah, sure. No wonder he banked so much money so fast.
I'll bank much more after I get rid of you, Dollar.
Look at that. There he is in the door.
Yeah, watch it.
See, I ain't fooling, Dollar.
He can't see us.
No, but what a target he makes in that doorway against the light.
No gun, Johnny?
No. We can try one of these bricks.
Yeah, man, but if you miss...
Dollar.
Wish me luck.
Dollar.
Right here, DuPont! Come on.
Oh, man, dear. You could qualify for the New York Yankees, Johnny.
All right, DuPont. On your feet. Let's get out of here. Expense account total, including rental on the swamp buggy, incidentals and transportation back to Hartford, $517.20. Remarks? Well, where he's going, DuPont wouldn't have any use for the insurance money anyway. Carl Grant turned state's evidence and clinched the smuggling charges against him. Because of that, Carl may get off easy. I hope so. He and Rose could make a very happy couple. End of remarks, end of report. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Our star will return in just a moment. If we are to remain alert to possible acts of aggression, we need the continuous operation of the Ground Observer Corps. And if the Ground Observer Corps is to remain on the job around the clock, 7 days a week, your help is needed. Tomorrow, telephone your nearest Civil Defense Center and volunteer a few hours of your time each week to the Ground Observer Corps. Join our Ground Observer Corps at the Civil Defense Center nearest your home. Now, here is our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, 3 sets of twins. 2 men, 2 girls, and 2 fires that hit the coast of Florida with the impact of a hurricane. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood. Written by Charles B. Smith, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in tonight's cast were Virginia Gregg, Forrest Lewis, Lou Merrill, Lawrence Dobkin, and Frank Gersel. Musical supervision is by Amerigo Marino and Carl Fortina. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Dan Cubberly speaking.
Get this and get it straight. Crime doesn't pay, which was the motto of our next broadcast from the pen of Raymond Chandler. The first show aired on NBC in June 1947, and then in 1948 the series moved to CBS, where it was renamed. For 114 episodes, the CBS version ran and ended in September 1950. It was a more hard-boiled program than many of the other private detective shows at the time, containing few quips or quaint characters. We're proud to present to you The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, right here on HOJO Radio.
It was hot and still, an August night in the middle of April. But that didn't matter to the striptease dancer in the golden mask, because murder made her blood run cold the night the heat wave struck.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Heat Wave.
Spring was only 3 weeks old, but the sun bore down on Los Angeles with the middle of the summer vengeance. At noon, it was 102 in the shade, and by 3:30, with doors, window, and shirt collar all open as far as they would go, I still sweltered in the kind of heat that wilts both your clothes and your character, as I tried to make sense from the crisp words of a telegram I just received from one Karen Driscoll, Jr., no less, of Nob Hill, San Francisco. It told me to go to the Palace Theater, a burlesque house on Main Street, watch the performance of the featured dancer, get backstage, and take a close look at her face. Then meet the 7 o'clock plane from San Francisco and report what I'd seen to Miss Driscoll, Jr. It was a strange request coming from Nob Hill, but the enclosed $50 money order wasn't kidding, so I perspired my way down to the Palace Theater. There, instead of the usual 30 beautiful girls, 30 sign over the marquee, was a 50-foot gold banner that screamed, The Heat Wave. Who is she? And the showcase cars that led to the box office were all a circle of question marks that centered a woman wearing a strange gold mask and little else. I bought a ticket and went inside in time for the tail end of the matinee. A baggy-pants comedian was just winding up a corny south-of-the-border routine as I sat down.
But there was Manuel, my brother, Manuel Labor. he was the laziest man in all Mexico. Yeah, until he got a job shooting bulls for the government. He shot 800 bulls a day. Yeah, that made him the biggest bull shooter in Mexico City.
The comic kicked the crown out of an oversized sombrero in a hybrid hat dance and then galloped off into the wings. After reminding myself that I was here on business, I sat down again as a personality boy in brown flannel and a yellow shirt stepped into the spotlight with his arms raised.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now privileged to witness one of the most unusual and breathtaking spectacles ever presented on any stage. In a moment, you will see her, the woman of mystery, performing exotic rites to the pagan sun god of the Incas, exactly as they were performed 3,000 years ago in the strange temples of the Andes. But who is she? Who is this woman? And who knows what secrets lie behind her mask of gold? The Palace Theater presents the masked marvelous, the beautiful, the dazzling, the mysterious Heat Wave.
Oh, I had to admit it. This was special. She was the color of alabaster and as supple as a cat, and as she moved across the stage, she got more convolutions out of her two arms than a restless octopus could with 8. Her costume from the neck down was about as sheer as a new spider web, and above that, and covering her face completely, was a gold mask, grotesque and glistening. As the dance headed for a climax designed to knock the cash customers right out of their seats, I reminded myself again that I was here on business. So I walked down the side aisle to a door that led backstage and went through it just as the dance ended. And while the audience tore the house down begging for more, the Heat Wave tossed a couple of kisses through a gold mask and ran to a dressing room. I started after her and was halfway there when a bulging hulk in a sharkskin suit that measured 6'6" in every direction lumbered casually out of the shadows and took a bulldog stance with his back against the dressing room door. I started thinking up fast ad-libs and was hot for a switch on the eager reporter gag when the baggy-pants comic slid up beside me.
Hey, chum.
Huh?
They're asking for a load of mayhem if you try to get to the heat wave past Jesse there.
Jesse? He the man mountain in the sharkskin suit?
Yeah, with orders to break bones.
No.
Maybe I can help you out.
Good. But how come?
Here, let's go around to the side. You're a reporter, right?
Yeah.
Well, Inky Barnes can use a little publicity, too, you know. Hold it here by the door. Now, what is it you have to know?
Well, all I want's one look at her face.
Yeah, that's a cinch. I said I'd help you out, and I will. Like this. Yeah.
Right out there in the alley. And don't come back before midnight, goon. You can see her face then when she takes the mask off.
I should have known better, but all I wanted at the moment was to kick the slack out of a pair of baggy pants. So I bounced back up the steps, jerked the door open, and ran head-on into 3 square yards of sharkskin suit. It was Jesse.
You ain't welcome around here, bum, so stay out. Have you got it?
Okay, Jesse, let's say I've got it.
Yeah. Also, don't drop it as you walk away.
I was glad to remember that I had a client to meet at the airport. So in spite of the fact that the Heat Wave's face was still a well-kept secret behind a gold mask, I took Jesse's good advice and left.
Flight 11 from San Francisco arriving at Gate 4. Will Dr. Robert Reamer please report to the information desk?
When the plane taxied to a stop at the airline's gate, it was 7 o'clock sharp. And as the passengers unloaded, a tall, sinuous brunette with arched eyebrows, an imperial gesture, and a hat that had kept some imaginative milliner out of the red for several months had to be Miss Karen Driscoll, Jr. I introduced myself, ushered her to the cocktail lounge, and when a Gibson sparkled in front of each of us, she got down to business.
Well, Marlowe, did you see her?
Yes and no.
I have a photograph here. Look, is this the same girl?
It's a headshot. It's pretty, but no help, Miss Driscoll.
You didn't see her face then?
No. Look, Junior, do I refund your money now or start asking questions?
Don't be ridiculous. I must know who that girl is, and I'll tell you why. This picture is of my sister, Midge Driscoll.
Oh? Think your sister's the heat wave?
Yes. Oh, she's doing it to humiliate me, Marlowe. Tomorrow I'm being married to a man whose family is distinguished in diplomatic circles.
No?
And this burlesque heatwave woman is to be revealed at midnight tonight. If she is my sister, can you imagine what the papers will do with that story tomorrow morning?
Yeah, some wedding present. But your own sister, I don't get it. Why?
Oh, it's an old hate, Marlowe. Midge lost a love affair, and I won it. Years ago. She's never gotten over it.
Oh.
And she's done things before. The day I was elected president of the Metropolitan Club, she faked an elopement with my chauffeur. The night of my engagement party, she rode a horse into the Flamingo Room. A brawl started, and she spent the night in jail.
I see what you mean, but this heat wave's got a lot of talent for burlesque. A lot of experience in her line. In fact, she's a sensation, let's face it. So what makes you think it's Midge, a hunch?
Oh, no. I found the name Tracy Lake in her apartment in San Francisco. He's the manager of the Palace Theater here. I learned that from a newspaper story in which Josh Freeman...
Josh Freeman?
Yes, the big producer.
Oh.
He's supposed to be bargaining with Lake for his heatwave discovery. Oh, she's done a thorough advance publicity job, all right.
What if she turns out to be your sister? What then?
That's my business. I know how to make money talk, Marlowe, and I've more than enough for a polite but firm conversation. Your job is merely to find out for sure, between now and midnight, if my sister actually is this heat wave. I'll take care of everything else.
Karen Driscoll Jr. gave me her local phone number, then got up, cursed the hot night, bid me hurry, and summoned a taxi. All with a regal wave, one hand. And I was left to my own devices in something less than 5 hours to make them work in, so I drove back to the Palace Theater, which was stalling until midnight by showing a triple feature movie. Paid another admission and slipped backstage again. It was deserted except for 2 electricians tied up in pinochle under the switchboard light. The heat wave's dressing room was locked. Jessie was nowhere in sight, and I was about to leave again when I heard a familiar voice cooing into a dark note that turned out to be a phone booth. It was Hinky Barnes, the baggy pants comic.
Beauty to the beautiful, you know. Hey, listen, baby. About that other deal, did you talk to her? She won't. You sure? Yeah. Yeah, well, look, I gotta talk to you. How about dinner? You can't? Well, I know you got things on your mind, but... Yeah, honey, I know you're tired. Well, okay. Don't worry, things are gonna be okay. You'll see. Bye-bye, baby.
Hey, Hinky.
Oh, you again.
Yeah, that's right. That brings us up to date, even Steven. Now get this. First, I'm not a reporter. Second, I represent Josh Freeman's office. And third, I haven't got all night.
You mean Josh Freeman, the big producer?
Know any other Josh Freeman? I want to talk to Tracy Lake about the heat wave, but I want to see her before I talk. Is she here?
No. She won't be back until the big midnight show.
Where's Tracy, then?
He's home. The Toppet House out in Wilshire. About 2 blocks down from Arthur Murray's. Hey, but listen, tell me something. Is Josh going to make a star out of her?
With a talent like hers? What do you think, Hinky? I left Hinky with his mouth hanging open and the fire of ambition burning like an alcohol lamp in each eye as I drove out to the Toppet House on Wilshire. Leaning on the bell at Tracy Lake's apartment, I got ready to be a hard-hitting, practical-minded producer's right-hand man.
Yeah, what is it?
Tracy, my name's Marlowe out of Josh Freeman's office. Caught the heat waves act this afternoon. Willing to wrap her up and take her home right now. But not sight unseen. Who is she?
Wait a minute.
Huh?
You say you're from Josh Freeman, Marlowe?
That's right. And I got a blank check right here in my pocket. Authorized to fill it out unless you're completely unreasonable.
I see. Well, now, look, Marlowe, this heat wave thing is going over 1,000% better than any of us expected.
Yeah, I know. But you see...
The price is high already, and the bids have only started to come in. Oh, excuse me. I just opened a bottle of Paul Masson over there. Help yourself, Marlowe. I'll be right back.
A perfectly good telephone sat within an arm's reach of Lake. But instead he went down the hall to an extension and closed the door behind him. It was distinctly malpractice, but time was running out on me, so I picked up the phone and listened.
Is Mr. Ridgely the jeweler?
Oh, yes. What is it, Ridgely?
The bracelet you selected is ready now. We can deliver it immediately.
Fine. It goes to Miss Nita LeVar, 44 Edgewood Terrace. Oh, enclose a card. Don't worry. worry, darling. You're my real heat wave. Sign it, Tracy.
Lovely, lovely. And the engagement ring? The sunburst?
Yeah, that's for Miss LeVar, too. But deliver that to the theater at midnight. You got it?
Yes, indeed, sir. Thank you. And congratulations.
Tracy Lake and Nita LeVar. Who might she be?
Sorry, Marlowe, a little personal business. Now, you were saying...
Yeah, I was saying I can hand you a nice fat check if this mass marvelous is really okay. You're building up to quite a surprise, Tracy. You must have something.
Yes, indeed I have, old boy. Plenty.
Yeah?
I can't reveal the lady's name until midnight.
All right. Play coy. What's her background? Has she got class?
Class? Marlowe, you wouldn't believe it.
Not blue book stuff. Society girl in burlesque?
Why, anything's possible, Marlowe.
Sure. She could even be from Nob Hill, huh?
Yeah, like I said.
Anything's possible, sure. Okay, Tracy, that's what I wanted to find out. See you after the unveiling, and you got a great night for it.
Oh, Marlowe, I suppose Big Ed Peters is in on the deal as usual, along with Josh?
Yeah, it's a regular Josh Freeman deal, just as usual. See you later, Tracy.
Hello?
This is Marlowe, Jr. I just wound up an interview with Tracy Lake. When I threw Nob Hill at him, he turned green. But it's not official yet. The odds are high that it's your sister Midge, all right, who's knocking him dead as the heat wave.
I knew it. That horrible, vindictive little tramp. What else, Marlowe? Did you find out where she is?
Yeah. She's going under the name of Nita LeVar and staying at 44 Edgewood Terrace near MacArthur Park. But listen, it's not positive yet, so I'm going there to check right now.
Where are you calling from, Marlowe?
A phone booth at a closed gas station out here on Wilshire. But Oh.
What's the matter? What is it, Marlowe?
I am about to start earning that fee of yours, baby. 300 pounds of muscle in a sharkskin suit just walked up. Goodbye.
Hello, Sonny.
Well, my Piltdown pal.
So the boss was right. You're just a cheap, nosy reporter, after all. It's cramped in there, ain't it? But you're not getting out, bub.
Now, wait a minute, Jesse. It's a hot night. Let's not work up a sweat, huh?
Don't you worry about that. Mr. Lake pegged you as a phony nosy, and that's bad.
What do you mean, phony?
You said Big Ed Peters was in on a deal with Josh Freeman.
All right, what about it?
Big Ed's been dead for 12 years. And you know what? He's still going to look better than you are 30 seconds from now. Oh!
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, tomorrow night, in order of their appearance, you'll hear Joseph Cotton, Ozzie and Harriet, Jack Benny and his gang, Amos and Andy, Sam Spade, Lum and Abner, Helen Hayes, Eve Arden, and hold tight now, a special show with Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, Claudette Colbert, and Dinah over most of these same CBS network stations. And Jack Benny with Mary, Phil, Dennis, Don, and Rochester will be heard over them all. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Heat Wave.
When the little man in big iron boots who were kicking at the lining of my temples finally quit, and I dragged myself back up to the vertical, Gargantua was gone. And I was sure of only two things. Tracy Lake did not know that I was anything other than a nosy reporter, and second and more important, it was time for me to head for Edgewood Terrace and the lady known as Nita LeVar. As I started for the front door of number 44, which was an all-alone stucco and a tile L shape that showed a single light, the little men in iron boots went to work again. It reminded me that it might be healthier if I first found out exactly what was waiting behind the mat marked welcome. So I made a wise circle around to the back, then in closer past a whispering huddle of palms through a flagstone patio that led to a short flight of also flagstone steps. But there, when I was only a few feet from an uncurtained window, I stopped at the sight of something I hadn't expected. It was the body of a woman lying in a twisted heap at the bottom of the stairs. When I moved closer, I saw that the ugly cut on the side of her head that had killed her had come from the jagged edge of the last step. I also saw that the woman was Midge Driscoll. Next to the body, there was an overturned, crushed sprinkling can, which meant that she could have fallen to her death accidentally. Also, it could have meant that if murdered, her killer had overturned and crushed the sprinkling can as well. I was somewhere between the two thoughts when I heard a car brake to a stop in front of the house. Then high heels on a cement walk. I quietly moved around to where I could see something tall and blonde who, in a better light, would have been better looking. Good evening.
What? Who's there?
Name's Philip Marlowe. Mean anything?
Nothing.
Then try this. I'm a friend of Midge Driscoll's.
Midge? I never heard of anyone by that name.
I'll bet. Step up a little closer, honey.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Bright Eyes. Midge!
Yeah, Midge. And Driscoll. Name you never heard of, remember? Now, what do you say? Do we play it straight?
Yeah. I'm Nita LeVar, Mr. Marlowe.
Baby, you're getting in deeper by the minute, and by that I specifically mean that Midge Driscoll here and Nita LeVar are one and the same.
Oh, you're crazy. I know my own name. It is and always has been Nita LeVar. That's Midge Driscoll.
All right, since you've grown so cooperative, maybe you can tell me why she's dead.
Could be that she fell down those stairs.
An hour before her unmasking is the heat wave?
Heat wave? You know an awful lot, mister. How come?
It's strictly business. I'm a private detective with client. We'll talk about that later. Right now, it's time to go in and call the police. And don't tell me you can't find your key.
Don't worry, private detective. I won't. Here, catch.
Got it.
Now, let's get inside. But let's not call the police, huh?
Why not? Are you afraid that they'll... Oh, I see what you and that pretty little gun mean.
I'm glad. I'd hate to have to shoot you.
Why, want to night your quota?
Don't be funny. I didn't kill Midge.
Then why no police?
For a very good reason. Until tonight, Marlowe, I've been the heat wave. The substitute heat wave for Milady there, who didn't have the time or the talent for the build-up to the great joke she was going to pull on her sister.
You mean you were the one I saw today?
The one everybody saw every day. And liked. Liked so much that business boomed and all the heads in the front row weren't bald.
Which has what to do with me calling the police?
In general, everything. In particular, my career. I tried to get that crazy kid there to back off and let me go on with the act that she'd kill after one performance, but no. Miss Bunny Moneybanks wouldn't hear of it.
Now that she's dead, you're in, is that it?
Solid. And that's also the reason why I don't want to spend the next 2 hours talking to cops. So go on, put the key in the lock, turn it, open the door, and walk in.
What happens then?
Then, Mr. Marlowe, we call Tracy Lake and arrange for a playmate for you.
Playmate named Jessie, maybe.
A playmate named Jessie. And no, maybe.
When we got inside, Nita LeVar, who handled the prisoner with the finesse of a Marine Guard detachment, took my gun, threw it across the room, put me into a faraway straight-back chair, and got through to Tracy Lake without once taking her baby blue eyes off me. Then when she told the man she called Darling all about Midge's death, which could have been for my benefit, she placed a rush order for the monster. After that, she hung up, sat down, lit a cigarette, and waited. But a second later, she was back on her feet. When I said that friend Jessie was fast, she said I should shut up and more.
Listen, Marlowe, you do exactly as I say. Coming! Now stay right where you are and don't so much as open your mouth. Who is it?
It's me, Nita. Hinky.
Oh, good. Come on in, Hinky.
Hello, Nita.
Hi.
I just happened to be going by, and since I knew it was Midge's night, I thought that...
Never mind what you thought. Just come in and listen. It isn't Midge's night, Hinky. It's mine. And don't ask questions now. Here.
Ooh, what's the gun for, Nita? What's the matter?
A private detective, but public nuisance named Marlowe.
Marlowe, a detective?
Mm-hmm.
He told me he was from Josh Freeman's office.
Ah, he was lying. Now get this, Hinky. Midge Driscoll is out and back, dead.
But why?
I don't know why, and I care less. But Marlowe here is crazy for calling the cops, which would leave me at midnight doing my big number for the desk sergeant. Great. So use that gun, see, and hold him here until Jessie shows up, which should be any minute. Now goodbye, and be careful, Hinky. So long, bright boy.
Gentle soul, huh, Barnes?
Never mind, Marlowe. Save the gab for Jesse. He's a great listener.
I doubt if he'll give me the time, considering that I know it's an odds-on bet it'll be a couple of slugs in my belt buckle before he's even in the room.
Jesse kill you? Why would he do that?
Because he works for Tracy Lake. And Tracy Lake has to kill me, Barnes. I know he's a murderer.
Midge Driscoll was murdered? You sure of that?
Just about. Doesn't figure any other way. Nita herself told me how much this chance means to her and how hard she tried to get Midge to back off.
But Tracy, how does he tie in?
2 ways. The money he'll get out of the show continuing indefinitely, and better than that, the fact that he and Nita are going to be married.
Those two get married? You're nuts, Marlowe.
No, it's straight, Bonds. I know because I overheard Tracy talking to a jeweler about the ring he ordered. Now, you mind if I have a cigarette? Hey, Bonds, can I reach for a cigarette?
Oh, yeah, okay. Hey, Marlowe. You sure of this? Everything you just said, I mean, about them getting married, no?
Sure I am. Why, a little disgusted with your buddies?
Yeah, a little. So as of right now, you can do as you want. I'm leaving.
No, you're not, Mr. Bonds.
Jesse, hey, Jesse, don't shoot.
I won't, Mr. Bonds. Unless, of course, you or Buster try to get out of here.
Oh, who, me, Jesse?
Yeah. You were going to let Marlowe go, Mr. Bonds. I don't think Mr. Lake would like that.
I'm sure he wouldn't, Jesse. So why don't you just save everyone a lot of time and start pulling that trigger? While you can still see what you're doing.
Hey, the light!
Get going, Bonds!
You dirty louse. I'll fix you. You'll never get out of here alive. Where are you? Come on, talk. Where are you? Where are you? Answer me, you hear? Answer me!
With pleasure.
Oh, you stinking slime. I'll tear you apart if I get my hands on you.
Which, Jesse boy, is the trick? And now for our meeting in the phone booth, flowers, you big ape, bars and all. After I got some lights on and found my gun where Nita had tossed it when we first came in, I checked Jesse over once to make sure that he was neither dead nor too alive. Then I started for the door. But there, even as my hand closed over the knob, I stopped. A crazy thought from I don't know where wedging its way into my mind. I turned back toward the room and stared at the flower and vase-strewn form of the ape that covered half the carpet. Then slowly the wedge broke through and there was light, lots of it. The kind in which I could see why Midge Driscoll had been murdered. And more important, why I had to get to the Palace Theater and Nita LaVar before murder happened again. I lurched from the curb in front of Nita's at 20 minutes to 12. When I screeched to a stop downtown at the Palace without somehow hitting or being hit along the way, those 20 minutes were gone. And I was worried because midnight meant that Nita would already be on stage for the unmasking. I raced past the general at the door and then across the lobby and into the theater where I figured I could get down a side aisle to the wings. That was figuring wrong. Because fire laws notwithstanding, the place was strictly SRO and packed tighter than the 7th Game World Series. Between the backs of perspiring necks, I could see that Nita, who was across stage from Tracy Lake himself and in the center of a single spotlight that could have opened a supermarket, was still masked. So while I prayed that Lake, who was winding up his spiel, would think of bigger and better adjectives, I ran back to the lobby and around to a flight of stairs that led to the first balcony, where over on one side and near the railing, I found an old man who was daddy to a trio of baby Spots, and the one giant that was on Nita. I shoved him aside just as Lake finished and the maestro took over. And with one hand, I got a good grip on the .38 in my pocket, and with the other, the handle on the big Spot.
Hey, what are you doing?
Hoping I'm wrong, Dad. But if not, hoping the gun I expect doesn't come from the wings, but... Hey, there, in that side balcony near the curtain, see it?
Yeah, it's a gun, all right. Hey, that's Hinky Barnes.
Right. Let's give the funny man a big audience and lots of light. You're on, Barnes!
Watch out, he's going to shoot at us.
Yeah, and us at him.
You got him! You got him!
Music! Music! Play something! Play music! Play some music!
It was 20 minutes of bedlam. Police, music, and 2 quick numbers by Nita LaVar, all of whose shaking was not routine. Before the Palace got back to the quiet business of being a burlesque house, and the show went on. It was another hour and 20 minutes before it was all over, and the theater was empty and dark, except for a work light on the stage where Nita, Tracy Lake, and I were sitting in the middle of a papier-mâché Inca civilization.
Well, Marlowe, the police say that Hinky's going to live for a while. Can't figure the guy. Never knew he felt that way about Nita here.
Neither did I. I was always okay to him, and I knew he cared some, but that's as far as it went.
With you, Nita, yeah. But with Hinky, it was something else.
Something strong enough to make him kill Midge Driscoll so that Nita would get a big chance, eh, Marlowe?
Mm-hmm. And when he found out through me that you two were going to be married, he realized that the murder he had committed was for nothing. And now he was going to make one count. So he turned on you, Nita.
How did you find out in time to get to him before he could make a try for Nita?
The way the guy sagged when I said you were going to be married told me all I had to know. But it was cinched by the American beauties draped around Jesse.
American beauties? Flowers?
Yeah. See, I remembered a phone call Hinky made. You, Nita, had been the lady he'd talked to and loved. From there on out, it was a little better than a shot in the dark.
2 shots in the dark, Marlowe. Good ones that are responsible for Nita still being here with us. Thanks, fella.
Yeah, Marla, thanks a lot.
Don't mention it. After all, I was paid for my work, and besides, that dance you do, Nita, belongs to posterity.
Ah.
Good night. It was still hot in the city. I had no enthusiasm for further conversation, and a very sticky feeling from head to foot. So I took care of Karen Driscoll Jr. in a fast telephone call and then pointed my car for my apartment. I couldn't help thinking of poor little Hinky Barnes, who brought laughter to everyone else, but could find no happiness for himself. He was like the man who went to see a doctor one day and said, "Doctor, I can't laugh anymore." And the doctor said, "Go and see Grok, the greatest clown of them all. If he can't make you laugh, there's no help for you." The man smiled and said, "Thank you, doctor. You see, I am Grok."
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Vivi Janis, Wilms Herbert, Ed Begley, Elsie Holmes, Barney Phillips, and Byron Kane. The special music is by Richard O'Runt. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
It started at dawn in a Los Angeles taxi and wound up that night on a cliff in the middle of the Pacific. All because of a Dutchman with $50,000, a corpse in a lily pond, and an Oriental with a chauffeur who wanted a cloak made of nothing but feathers.
In just about an hour from now, $50,000, the biggest jackpot in radio history, will be waiting CBS listeners from coast to coast on the Sing It Again program over most of these same CBS network stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
HOJO Radio, where the classics come alive.
It started at dawn in a Los Angeles taxi and wound up that night on a cliff in the middle of the Pacific. All because of a Dutchman with $50,000, a corpse in a lily pond, and an Oriental with a chauffeur who wanted a cloak made of nothing but feathers.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Cloak of Kamehameha.
The message that a repulsively wide-awake boy who was missing a tooth front row center had delivered at 6 in the a.m. had come in 2 parts. The first, scrawled in black ink on a wrinkled piece of paper, said, "Marlowe, get hold of a taxicab. Pose as the driver yourself, and at exactly 8 o'clock this morning, come past 8840 North Ogden Drive. Signed, Pollard Schindler." The second half made more sense. It was printed in neat letters on neat green paper, and under an engraving of Benjamin Franklin read, 100 silver dollars payable to the bearer on demand. So at exactly 8 o'clock, I was behind the wheel of a hired cab, leather jacket, peak cap, toothpick and all, and within taxi distance of number 8840. Mr. Pollard Schindler, a round man in square clothes with haircut to match, was not late.
Taxi! You there! Taxi, wait!
Yes, sir. Cab?
Of course. Why do you think I'm shouting my head off?
I want to go to the municipal airport. Do you understand? The municipal airport at Inglewood.
Okay, Inglewood. Municipal airport it is.
Marlowe, the meter. Quick, put the flag down. Every minute I'm being watched.
Oh, yeah. Watched by whom, Mr. Schindler?
I do not know. Now, listen carefully, Marlowe. Later, you are to go to the Halemoana Hotel and wait for a young lady named Lani Collier. Then, at the hour she designates, you go to her house, number 44, Diamond Head Circle, and pick up the cloak.
Oh, wait a minute. Halemoana, Diamond Head, all those places. This hotel isn't by any chance in Hawaii, is it?
Didn't I mention this in my note?
No, you didn't. Nor did you mention picking up a cloak.
That just proves I haven't been myself ever since yesterday when I received this anonymous letter that's postmarked Honolulu. All it says is, Kamehameha's cloak of golden feathers will bring no less than death.
Huh.
Marlowe, have you ever been to the islands?
Yeah, twice. Once business, once pleasure.
Well, then surely you've heard people speak of King Kamehameha.
Oh, sure. He was back in the 1780s, right?
Yeah.
Big organizer, conquered Oahu by driving the defenders over that cliff that divides the island. It divides it into two, you know.
Pali.
That's
Pali,
it.
Marlowe, the feathered cloak that Kamehameha wore was about 100 square feet, and every inch of it a golden yellow feather.
Huh?
Valued at more than $500,000.
Really? How come?
Well, the feathers.
Oh, yes.
They are from the now extinct black marmot bird, Marlowe, and there was only one yellow feather on each bird.
That could explain why they're now extinct. Don't tell me this is all a game of Collier to Marlowe to Schindler with a cloak that belongs to the museum.
Oh, no, Marlowe. No, it isn't with the cloak you speak of. But Lani Collier has another one. Less valuable, of course. It's 1/4 the size.
Oh.
But it also belonged to the king. And it also is made of the priceless feathers.
And is this her property to have and to hold legal-like?
Yeah. Lani is wealthy, young.
How young?
About 25.
Oh.
She went to a fashionable schools here in California, and as a result cares more about fun and furs from I.J. Fox than she does priceless heirlooms. So for $50,000, I have bought the cloak to resell to a New York millionaire for almost twice that sum.
It's a lot of loot.
Well, yes, he loves island law.
Oh, it figures.
Marlowe, I was right. I am still being followed. Don't look back.
Just drive faster?
No. Do nothing. This is exactly as I want it. Whoever it is will follow me, not you. And when I am in Honolulu, they will still follow me.
Well, I take care of the business on hand, huh?
Yes. There is a reservation for you on the next plane. So, after you leave me and collect your cab fare, which will be $500, you drive away. And then later, Marlowe, get back here, board your plane, and underway.
And tonight, when I've got the cloak?
Take it back to your hotel room at the Halemoana and sit on it hard. Because unless I am a complete success as a decoy, you will have your share of trouble, too, I'm sure. But, Marlowe, from which specific direction it will come, I do not know.
I got the $500 which was to cover expenses for my Honolulu trip, and I was told to keep the change. So after I'd returned both cab and costume to their owner, I added 10 to the original hiring price and had him drive me back to my apartment and wait while I packed. Then I got into the cab again, rear seat, said Municipal Airport, Inglewood, and settled back to think about the crossroads of the Pacific. Lovely hula hands and what shouldn't be too rough a job. But there I was wrong, because in the next minute and those that followed, everything was done the hard way. First we ran out of gas, then got tied up in a traffic jam, and after that got stopped for speeding. All of which added up to me at the airport just in time to watch my plane take off without me. But then when I told a cherubic clerk in a gray flannel and insipid smile that my name was Philip Marlowe, and that I wanted a reservation on the next flight, which was leaving in an hour, things got even worse.
But you can't be Philip Marlowe, sir. That is not the Philip Marlowe who was on Flight 21 that just left.
You have a reason for saying that?
Well, I most certainly do. There were 36 seats on that plane, sir. And when she took off, all 36 were full. Now, I know, I checked them myself, and I don't make mistakes.
Well, bully for you, boy. But I happen to be both Philip Marlowe and the man who was supposed to be on that plane. Also, Buster, I'm out of patience. Now, do I get the next plane or don't I? Come on, I can't stand indecision.
Well,
You what?
I think it can be arranged, Mr. Marlowe. As a matter of fact, I know it can.
Well, in that case, my friend, thank you. When we took off, my frame of mind left me ready and waiting for at least a crack-up at sea. But an hour later, the last of California had slipped over the horizon, and there was only clear sky ahead. I began to relax. My mind drifted pleasantly. The flavor of the lime lifesaver in my mouth made me think of tall, wondrous frosted Hawaiian punches. and the sinuous grace of lovely hula hands. But I opened my eyes again. Diamond Head was in front of us, majestic in the red glow of the evening sun. It gave all of the lush Moana Valley I could see the texture of thick velvet. We landed like the airport was made of marshmallows. And a half hour later, I was in the lobby of the Hale Moana Hotel. It was cushioned rattan and Filipino mahogany over cool tile. And everywhere, laughing, sunburned faces wearing bright splashes of color. So, smiling both inside and out, I walked briskly to the reservation desk and told a good-looking Hawaiian in white flannel that I was Philip Marlowe. But at his reply, I stopped smiling, both inside and out.
But, sir, your reservation was taken 2 hours ago. There must be some mistake.
I doubt it.
But you are Philip Marlowe of Los Angeles, sir?
That's right, and I've been through this before today because of what I thought was an error due to...
due to what, sir?
Nothing. No, I'll talk to you later. There was a large circle of mirror on the wall behind the clerk. And even as we had talked, I caught the reflection of a beautiful tan girl in a cocoa brown suit, white pearls, and no stockings, who, at the mention of my name, had done a take that had made her long blonde hair whip straight out. When she saw me watching her, she pivoted sharply on a spiked heel and hurried toward a lanai under a banyan tree, where there was Hawaiian music and a lot of different-looking people drinking at glass-topped tables under a three-quarter moon. I stayed near the reservation desk long enough to light a cigarette, and then I followed her. She was seated away from the lobby entrance, and on a hunch that she might be Lani Kalia, I started for an empty table next to hers. But a middle-aged Chinese in gray gabardine and Panama to match slipped into the chair that I was after. So I forgot about being subtle, and addressing her as Miss Kalia, introduced myself as an old and dear friend of Pollard Schindler's, one Leland Dunn.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise, Mr. Dunn. But tell me, how did you know what I looked like?
Well, Pollard Schindler's accent doesn't hamper his vocabulary, Miss Collier. He used the right adjectives, believe me.
I'd love to believe you. But I can't, Mr. Dunn, because Pollard Schindler never saw me in his life. All our business was done by telephone.
Okay, my mistake. I'm Philip Marlowe, Lanny, and I want to know when we rendezvous at 44 Diamond Head Circle for the cloak of Kamehameha.
The cloak?
Yeah.
You're no more Philip Marlowe than you are Leland Dunn. And if you need a reason, it's that I just left Philip Marlowe upstairs.
Now, wait a minute, baby. There's only one Marlowe. That's me. I can prove it.
I'll bet you can, forged papers and all. I've already been warned to watch for imposters, so quit wasting both your time and mine and get out of my way. I've got things to do.
Now, wait, Lonnie,
For what? Proof that you're neither Dunn nor Marlowe, but Kamehameha himself? No thanks and goodbye.
If there had been a door, she'd have slammed it. Well, now I had two clues. One, an obvious party who would assume the name of Philip Marlowe, and the other, Lani Collier. Less obvious, but more intriguing. So figuring the road company Marlowe would keep, I followed Lani, who by this time was getting into a new yellow Nash convertible. Before I got to her, she stepped on the gas, threw her lights on, and lurched from the curb. So I ran across the street to what I thought was a taxi, but I was wrong, because it turned out to be a chauffeured limousine and being helped in by a small, swarthy item of dubious lineage in a wrinkled cotton uniform was the Chinese in gray gabardine and Panama to match, who had been sitting near us on the lanai. But what counted more was that he obviously sensed my problem.
You wish to follow the girl, sir?
Yeah, it's a lover's spat, you know what I mean?
I think so.
Oh.
Jolo, quickly.
Yes, sir.
You know where she's going?
I'm not sure. Maybe Diamond Head Circle.
Lady is gaining, sir.
Let's make it Diamond Head Circle. Is there a faster way there, a shortcut?
There is. Jolo, pique no lo, que lola.
Which means what?
Means never mind Diamond Head Circle. Drive fast to the factory instead. And do not move, Mr. Marlowe.
Marlowe. Oh. Comes the heavy artillery, huh? Okay, Fu Manchu, what's with the factory?
You out of the way until the cloak of Kamehameha is mine.
Which won't work, because believe it or not, clever one, there's another Philip Marlowe who at the moment is a lot closer to that collection of fancy feathers than either of us.
You lie. A stupid bit for freedom. I bet they will not get you. Jolo, that truck, look out!
It was my chance. As we hit, I slapped at his gun and then jerked the handle of the door and jumped. When I got to my feet, I was on the sidewalk and bruised, but better off than China Boy, who was draped over the back of the front seat and shouting dirty words in a half a dozen Oriental dialects at both Jolo and the driver of the pineapple truck that had sideswiped us. A crowd that included a towering Hawaiian policeman who promptly told mine host to shut up. Gathered in a hurry, so I ran for a taxi. gave the driver $10, the address I wanted, and took off. The street on which Lonnie Collier lived was a neat curving strip that rose sharply from sea level up to the shadow of Diamond Head itself. And we were there in less than 10 minutes, but finding number 44 was something else. And another 30 minutes disappeared before we finally parked away from the place, which was glass, Kona wood, and you can't find the front door without a blueprint tucked deep behind a thick grove of date palms. I told the driver to back down the hill without using his motor. Then I slipped into the grounds and carefully moved toward the house, until what I thought was the trunk of another palm tree stepped into my path fast.
Stop where you are.
At the top, which was over 6.5 feet, there was a shock of flaming red hair. The whole frame was half covered in dirty yellow shirt, once upon a time white ducks and battered brown sandals. In broad daylight, it would have looked worse.
You. Who are you?
Someone with an appointment to see Miss Collier. Why, you belong to this place?
Yes, and this place belongs to me as well. All of it. Miss Collier included. She's mine to protect. You understand that, Malahini?
Mala which?
Malahini. Greenhorn tourist, the kind that I hate. Kind that's ravaging all that's beautiful. Stealing the islands from those to whom they belong.
Now, take it easy, Red. I'm not here to ravage or stick your pretty island into my pocket when you're not looking. All I want is words with Lonnie Collier.
You are like the rest of them, trying with cunning and deceit to turn her head away from these shores and toward the mainland where you come from. I won't stand for it.
Look, why don't we break this round table up and get to the house? I'm in a hurry.
All right. But I'm sure that Lanny will be on my side. So sure, in fact, that we really shouldn't disturb the flower, should we? Should we? Oh! Malahini.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, if mystery and detection are your dish, don't forget you can get more of the same over CBS. Tomorrow, for instance, is the day when two unique and widely differing sleuths make their weekly appearance. One is that well-known character, Sam Spade, Dashiell Hammett's hard-boiled private eye. The other sleuth, whose adventures are yours every Sunday, is Danny Clover, an old hand on that gaudy street called Broadway. Broadway is my beat, says Danny Clover, and it's a beat where anything can happen. Both Broadway is my beat and the adventures of Sam Spade come to you over most of these same CBS network stations. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Cloak of Kamehameha.
The red-headed lunatic with the slow, soft voice and fast, hard fist took me by surprise, and I wound up flat on my back before I realized he'd so much as moved. By the time I got to my feet and took after him, he was sprinting for a bamboo thicket and had a 30-yard lead, which was all he needed to lose me completely. When I finally untangled myself from the jungle, I came out on the road. But then I heard a motor behind me, so I dove for the underbrush again, just as a heavy car roared by. I'd seen it before. In fact, I'd been in it. It was the limousine that belonged to the Chinaman. The back seat was empty, but the half-caste chauffeur, Jolo, who was crouched behind the wheel, drove out of sight like his life depended on it. As I walked back toward the house, I saw that a door was standing open and spilling a shaft of yellow light across the dark grounds. I started up the walk when it came. Then a second later, Lenny Collier burst into the path of light and ran for the open door. I went after her, caught her by one arm, and spun her around.
No, let me go.
What happened? Why'd you scream, Lenny?
It was back there in the pond.
Yeah?
I heard a noise, and when I came outside, I found him.
Found who? Come on, show me.
I talked to him just a few minutes ago. I gave him the cloak.
Yeah?
Now it's gone, and he's dead with a knife in his back.
What?
There. Look, there in the water.
Oh, brother. Who is it, Lenny? Do you know him?
Yes. That's Philip Marlowe.
The skin on my neck crawled as Lenny tagged the thing in the lily pond with my name. He was face down in the shallow water in 3 inches of crooked steel, and the ugly carved handle of a kris stuck straight up between his shoulder blades. Somebody had made a very grim mistake. But it took 5 minutes of argument and a thorough checking of all the credentials I carried to convince the badly frightened Lonnie. I dragged the body out of the water and up onto the grass. And then I went through his pockets.
What did you find?
A card.
Oh?
Yeah. From the Hawaiian Island Art Products Company, Limited. Number 12 Harbor Street. Mean anything?
No, I've never heard of it. Oh, what's that on the back?
Flight number and departure time of the plane I was supposed to take out of Los Angeles. Whoever he is, he's been one jump ahead of me all the time. Right up to your lily pond here. Was anyone with him when you gave him the cloak, a half-caste, and the chauffeur's uniform, for instance?
No, he was alone. I gave him the cloak just as Schindler had instructed me to, and...
Listen, Lonnie. There was a down-at-the-heel redhead here just before you came out. He claimed to be a friend of yours.
Oh, that was Lawrence Cochran, the poet.
That guy's a poet?
Yes. At least he was going to be. He wrote one great poem years ago about two lovers who leaped to death over the Polly.
Oh.
To keep from being separated, and their souls turned into birds. It's still very popular here on the island.
Mm-hmm. What happened then?
Then he got the habit of drowning himself in gin. Now the natives call him Papuli, the crazy one.
That's closer.
Oh, he's always hanging around. I suppose he still believes he's in love with me.
He's not so crazy.
My mother wanted me to marry him at one time. Now that she's dead, he thinks he should look after me.
Okay, Lonnie, let him keep thinking so.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean you can use a good watchdog right now. So when Cochran comes back, you make him park on your doorstep, and you stay inside and be careful. With guys named Philip Marlowe getting knives in their backs, I've got a few things to do myself, but fast. I'd like to borrow that souped-up convertible of yours,
where are you going?
Number 12 Harbor Street, and the Hawaiian Island Art Products Company, Limited. Harbor Street was a narrow, twisting alley 2 blocks below King Street. A kind of social sargasso where the derelicts of the Pacific quietly foundered in dives built into the damp crevices between warehouses. However, number 12 turned out to be practically a blank wall. There was one small window high up, a door with a heavy iron grill over the glass, on which Hawaiian Island Art Products Limited, I.K. Lee, President, was painted in small black letters, and a thin passageway blocked by an iron gate at the side of the building. A light burned inside, but the door was locked. So after I'd ruined my shoe shine and skinned all my knuckles, I managed to climb over the gate and edge down the passageway to the rear, where I could hear water running. There was a marble fountain playing in the center of a walled garden as oriental as the Forbidden City. I eased across its rigid daintiness to an open door, peeked in, and then reached for my gun because sitting inside at his sleek white mahogany desk was the Chinaman in the gray Panama.
Well. This is a somewhat unexpected turn of events. Please, be careful with that gun, won't you?
You be careful, Lee, and you won't have to worry about the gun. Now tell me something. Why'd you break your neck to get Kamehameha's cloak anyway? You know what'll happen if you ever try to sell it?
Oh, my good man. I can sell that cloak every day for the rest of my life. A few feathers at a time.
Yeah? The world must be full of feather collectors, huh?
But it is. I manufacture the beautiful feather lace islanders wear on their hats. And while the bird is extinct, the desire for its gleaming feathers is not. 1 or 2 golden mammo feathers in each lay, and instead of a mere $100 apiece, I can get double that, triple that. Now do you understand, Mr. Marlowe?
You've got things a little mixed up, haven't you, Lee?
Mixed up how so?
Yeah, your boy Marlowe is dead up at Lonnie Collier's place.
Oh, that. No, that was a Mr. Blake, an easily accessible gentleman I hired on Main Street in Los Angeles. He only pretended to be you, for obvious reasons.
To intercept the feather cloak, huh?
Oh, yes. I've known all about Pollard Schindler's plans since their inception. I followed every move he made. In fact, it was I who caused all your trouble on the way to the airport this morning, by means of a bribe to your driver.
Yeah. Aren't you the one?
Yes.
Too bad you won't be able to keep your nest lined with Kamehameha's bathrobe after all, Lee. Because I'm going to walk out of here with it, or big chunks of your puss. Now, name it. The cloak now.
Oh, I'm to gather from this you don't have it, Marlowe.
Shrewd observation.
And that Schindler, as I suspected, has tricked us
You're
both.
stalling, Lee. I'm warning you. Start talking.
Oh, that's all I wanted to find out. Go ahead, Jolo. That is judo, Mr. Marlowe. Almost like magic, isn't it? Jolo can break your back if I tell him to, Marlowe. So you behave. Schindler has the cloak, no doubt about it. So I must find him at once with no interference from you. So, Jolo, you have his gun.
Yes.
Lock him inside. Keep Marlowe until I call. I may need him later.
from something the half-caste had done to my spine. With the edge of his hand, my legs were paralyzed. I felt like the practice dummy in a school for chiropractors. Oh, every joint in my body ached when I moved. So I didn't move until the feeling oozed back into my legs. And then I wobbled to my feet and looked around. There was the small high window I'd seen from the street. A heavy chair, a desk with a lamp, and something like a picture framed in bamboo on the wall. I glanced at it and then I looked back. And kept looking hard for a long, long time until I finally realized what it meant. The answer to the whole thing was contained in that bamboo frame. I had to get out and get out fast. I unplugged the lamp, plastered my back against the wall next to the door, and tapped on the lampshade to intrigue Jolo into coming in. It worked. When the knob turned slowly, I threw the lamp up at the window. A crash brought the door open with a jerk, and Jolo stepped in with my gun in his hand.
What is going on here, Mr. Where are you? Answer!
Right here, Jolo! Come on, get up. I've got some magic to show you now. A trick I learned in Kansas called a haymaker. I ran down the hall of the street door and out to the car. There was no traffic problem at that hour, so I jammed the gas pedal to the floor and held it there, right through the heart of Honolulu and up the twisting road that led to the mountains back of the city. The echoing roar of the motor as it tunneled through the forest lining the road was finally replaced by another roar, wind. The unending gale that shrieks through a precipitous pass 3,000 feet above the city. The Polly. I swung the car to the side of the road and ran the rest of the way out to where the rocks rose to a knife edge that dropped a sheer 1,000 feet to the valley floor. Then I spotted them. Lanny lying stunned at the cliff's edge, and standing over her, his red hair ripped by the wind, was the mad island poet drunk as a lord. And flapping around his shoulders like a pair of huge gold wings was the cloak of Kamehameha.
Oh, don't weep, my love. I offer you the freedom of the birds. Come, Lonnie.
No, let me go, Lawrence. You're mad.
No, Lonnie, you're the mad one to think you could sell your treasures and leave the island. Your destiny is here.
No, stop it, you murderous lunatic.
I tried to warn Schindler, but the fool kept on, so I killed his courier, the man you gave the cloak to. I'd kill 1,000 times to keep you here with me.
No!
You belong to the islands, Lonnie, like this cloak, and I do. We must never leave. Come, it'll all be over soon, and our souls will turn to birds and live forever in this paradise.
No, stop it!
Stop!
Marlo, help me!
Stay back, Marlo, don't interfere! Lonnie! Lonnie!
Marlo, he slipped, he fell over.
I know. Are you all right, Lanny?
Yes, I'm okay. Marlo, look.
The cloak. Cochran must have lost it as he fell.
The wind brought it back here to me. I don't want to touch it ever again.
I know what you mean. Come on, baby. I'll carry it for you. Let's get out of here.
There's nothing like ham and eggs and good black coffee in the morning, son, to make one forget an ugly night. Right, my friends?
Absolutely right, Mr. Schindler. More coffee, Phil?
Thanks, Lonnie. So Lee was picked up by the Honolulu police,
Yeah,
huh?
sure. I had it all set up. He'll spend some time in prison. And that Jolo, too. Oh, by the way, he was still unconscious when we got to him. What in the world did you hit him with, Marlo?
Enthusiasm, mostly.
That's when you got away and came up to the Polly.
Yeah.
But, Phil, how did you know it was Lawrence and where he'd be?
Well, it all tied in with that one popular poem Cochran had written, Lonnie. That anonymous letter you got in Los Angeles, Mr. Schindler, was a line from that poem.
Kamehameha's cloak of golden feathers
will bring no less than death. That's it.
How did you find that out, Marlo?
Well, when I was locked up in Lee's factory, I saw a full copy of that poem on the wall in a little bamboo frame. When I came to the line you just quoted, it stuck out like it was printed in neon. That pegged Cochran as the killer. Once I had that, I tried to look at things from his angle. He was a murderer, sure to be caught, desperately in love, insanely possessive of everything he thought belonged here in the islands.
Yeah.
And he was an unbalanced lush as well. So the rest of it figured, that's all.
And when he was cornered, he went back to the one important thing he'd ever done.
Exactly, baby. He was lost. So he identified himself with the hero of his poem and took that as the only way out.
Amazing. truly an amazing thing.
And a terrible thing, too, Mr. Schindler.
Well, who knows? We all got what we went after, didn't we? Each of us. Even Lawrence Cochran. After Schindler left to catch a plane for the mainland, and Lonnie said aloha and left to get ready for our date, I sat on the lanai of the hotel and watched the sweep of the Pacific from Diamond Head to the hills across the harbor, from the white sands of Waikiki, the green shallows over the reef, to the purple depths beyond. And as a warm wind whispered through the palms, and a native strummed his ukulele under a banyan tree, I heard Lonnie whisper aloha. Aloha. What does aloha really mean?
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast was Barry Kroger with Lorette Philbrandt, John Daner, Paul Frees, Byron Kane, and Clark Gordon. The special music is by Richard O'Run. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
The thick fog that clung to Los Angeles made searching for the girl who was going to kill herself slow and easy. But in the end, I'd have settled for that and more because murder happened twice before I found the lady in mink.
$52,000. A nice pocket full of change to have around, isn't it? Well, the chance to win it comes your way again just a little later tonight when CBS's giant one-hour quiz show, Sing It Again, comes to you over most of these same stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Our next broadcast was a radio series that was loosely based on a private detective character created by writer Dashiell Hammett for the Maltese Falcon. The show ran for 13 episodes on ABC in 1946, for 157 episodes on CBS from 1946 to 1947, and finally for 51 more episodes on NBC from 1949 to 1951. The series starred Howard Duff as the titular character and Lauren Tuttle as his secretary Effie. We proudly present to you The Adventures of Sam Spade on HOJO Radio.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective. Brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic, the non-alcoholic hair tonic that contains lanolin. Wild Root Cream Oil, again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first.
Sam Spade Detective Agency.
Sam, sweetheart. Any calls?
Only one, Sam. Lieutenant Dundee of Homicide. He wants you to drop around so they can get your formal statement.
No hurry, not now.
He told me what happened, Sam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so am I.
I guess he was one of your oldest friends, wasn't he?
You don't make any friends in this business, Evie. You can write that in your book now, and I'll give you the rest of it when I get there.
You sound tired, Sam. Wouldn't you rather just,
What, baby?
well, go home and, just put it off until tomorrow or...
Yeah, maybe I... No. No, I'll get it off my chest tonight. Stay there, Effie. I'll come on down and dictate my report on the Dick Foley caper.
Dashiell Hammett, America's leading detective fiction writer and creator of Sam Spade, the hard-boiled private eye, and William Spear, radio's outstanding producer-director of mystery and crime drama, join their talents to make your hair stand on end with the adventures of Sam Spade. Presented by the makers of Wild Root Cream Oil for the hair. No two ways about it, folks. Hair that's well groomed can make all the difference in the world to a person's overall appearance. That's why so many men, women, boys, and girls are turning to the famous non-alcoholic hair tonic with lanolin, Wild Root Cream Oil. Wild Root Cream Oil grooms your hair neatly and naturally, relieves dryness, removes loose dandruff. If you haven't tried it before, you'll want to get Wild Root Cream Oil in a new 25-cent get-acquainted size. Yes, get Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men and women and children, too. And now, with Howard Duff starring as Spade, Wild Root brings to the air the greatest private detective of them all in the adventures of Sam Spade.
Nuts.
Oh, here, Sam, let me.
Am I that shaky?
Say when.
Just to the top of the glass.
Now, that's enough. You'll spill it.
Yeah.
Sam, what you said over the phone about not making any friends in this business, you didn't really mean that, did you?
Forget it. You can label this, a file on Dick Foley. Date, fill it in.
Yes, Sam.
To Dundee at Homicide, I guess, from Samuel Spade, license number 137-596. The facts are all here. If you can dig a formal statement out of it, you're welcome. I'd known Dick Foley ever since I took out my license. We'd worked several big capers together back in my days as a Continental Lot. He and Mickey Lanahan and I. Then he and Mickey opened their own office, Foley and Lanahan, Private Investigations. 5 years back, Mickey stopped the slug, and since then the sign on the door read Dick Foley Detective Agency. I'd seen Dick maybe 4 or 5 times in the last half a dozen years just to have a drink and chew the fat about the good old days. He never talked about his private life. I assumed he didn't have any. So when I went to his office the day before yesterday in response to his call, I was surprised to find him in a clinch with one of the most beautiful nails I've ever seen.
Oh, Sam. Well.
Shall I come back after lunch?
Sam, this is Maxine, my wife.
Well, you don't deserve it, but I'm happy for you.
I'll return the compliment, Sam. I've wanted to meet you for years, but Dick wouldn't introduce me.
Now you know why. Well, you run along, honey. Sam's here on business.
All right, Dick. You can bring Sam home to dinner if you like. There's plenty.
If he's not too busy, but don't count on that.
Well, try anyway, won't you, Sam?
I will indeed.
Bye now.
Draw up a chair, Sam.
Hmm?
Sit down.
Oh, yeah. What's on your mind, Dick?
You remember Claude Spicer, that grifter I sent over for that jewelry store hike back in 43?
You never told me you were married, Dick.
I'm very happily married. Now, please pay attention.
Claude Spicer, yeah. Yeah, I remember the caper. Wasn't there a dame involved?
Well, Spicer had a girlfriend, but the cops gave her a good bill of health. Spicer went up for a 5-year stretch. They sprung him last month.
Whatever happened to that dame?
Now, look, about Spicer.
He gunning for you?
You hit it.
How scared of him are you?
Well, enough to ask you for help, Sam.
What's eating him? Just revenge?
Sam, I wouldn't tell this to anybody but you. But all the facts of that caper didn't come out at that time. I saw to that.
How come?
Well, I couldn't have stayed in business in San Francisco if it had been generally known that my partner was the inside man on that jewelry store heist.
Mickey?
Yeah, Mickey Lanahan. You and I are both great at choosing partners, Sam. They both deserved what they got.
Only one difference. I sent up the killer that plugged my partner. Some people thought the way you gave evidence at Spicer's murder trial wasn't so hot.
Well, he was alibied, Sam. In fact, the robbery was his alibi for the murder. I don't know how he managed it. I've been trying for 5 years to figure it out. Spicer's afraid I might succeed someday. That's why he's out to get me.
What's he waiting for?
Oh, I don't know. He won't do it simple. He'll have a fancy plan like the other time. He's tricky.
Where's he staying?
At the Belvedere. Here's his mug. I kept a plant in the building for a couple of days, but he stayed holed up in his room. I think he spotted me.
Okay, Dick, I'll give it a buzz.
Now, wait a minute, Sam.
Yeah?
I'm not asking you to do this for love. Standard fee, $25 in whiskey money. Okay?
Forget it. This one's on me. In the elevator on my way out, I studied the picture of Claude Spicer on the old police circular Dick had given me. But a picture in the back of my mind kept getting in the way.
It was Dick Foley's wife, Maxine. When I hit the street, I still saw her face before me, and it was no picture. Only pretty as.
Sam, I waited for you. I've got to talk to you.
My pleasure. Shall we confer in an adjacent cafe?
Wherever you say. Only I don't want Dick to know.
Then you shouldn't have married a detective.
Please, Sam.
How's this? Black watch.
Yeah.
Looks dark enough.
Oh, that booth in the corner, it's secluded.
Why not? Slide in. Oh, no, over here, stupid, not facing the street.
Oh, sorry. I'm not much good at this sort of thing. Sam, I'm not asking you to tell me what it is, but if he's in really bad trouble, I think I have a right to know.
What makes you think he's in trouble?
Well, I'm not blind. You can't live with a man and not sense it when something goes wrong.
I never thought Dick was the type to show it.
Oh, he's tried to hide it from me, and I haven't said anything. I thought if he wanted me to know, he'd tell me.
It was a wise thought. Hold on to it.
Well, I meant to. But then a terrible possibility crossed my mind. Sam, it isn't me, is it?
In what way?
Well, you know what I mean. He's been away from home nights so much lately, and he questions me so closely about where I go and who I see and so on, and Well, I may as well ask you right out. Did he hire you to check up on me? Then that is it.
No.
You're not lying to me, Sam.
Why should I?
Dick says you're almost his oldest friend. He's talked so much about you.
Then he must have told you I don't do that type of work.
Why do you keep looking at me?
Sorry, trying to place you, Maxine. I keep thinking I've seen you someplace before.
Oh, it must have been my picture. I was an actress.
Yeah. Picture. Yeah, maybe that was it.
Why do you say it like that?
Like what?
Well, as if you were angry with me.
Because I just got the caption on the picture.
Well, Sam, wait. Come back.
Yes, I had. And the caption was from a newspaper circa 1943. And it read, Actress Lovely cleared in Lanahan slaying. I flashed my tin star at the room clerk at the Belvedere, learned that Claude Spicer was in, and stuck around to make sure the clerk didn't buzz the room to tip him off. Around 4 p.m., Spicer went out, very dressed up, umbrella, gloves and all. He walked down Geary to Grant and turned north. A cold San Francisco drizzle started blowing up from the bay. I wished I'd brought my overcoat. A half a block up from California, he entered Grayson's jewelry store. I peeked through the Rains Creek show window after him. Inside, pawing eagerly through a tray full of diamond clips while a long-suffering clerk eyed her hopelessly from his side of the counter, was the actress Lovely. Maxine shot Spicer a quick glance of recognition as he entered, but they didn't speak. He took up a pose of gentlemanly patience, shrugged his eyebrows sympathetically at the clerk, and leaned elegantly on his umbrella while Maxine found fault with every piece of jewelry that was shoved in front of her. The bored expression left his face only once. That was when the clerk opened the vault and brought out some unset stones. Their act may have been fooling the clerk, but it was as plain as the nose on Spicer's face, a very plain nose it was, that they were sizing up the joint for a pushover. Maxine left first. He stayed long enough to buy a cigarette lighter and then followed her out. As I took out after him, I stopped to read the sticker on the inside of the glass door. It said, "These premises protected by Dick Foley Detective Agency." Maxine was waiting for him at the corner. I grabbed up a Chinese newspaper and used it to listen behind, but I needn't have bothered. They didn't seem to care.
Well, are you happy? Ought to be about $1 million.
Why are you so disagreeable? You ought to be feeling good.
Feeling good? 5-year stretch, I come out to find my girl married to the joker that sent me up.
You didn't think it was such a bad idea at the time.
Well, I do now. Well, after tonight, we'll go east, you and me together, baby.
He'll catch up with us wherever we go.
Oh, you should live so long.
How do you mean that?
Just like it sounds, baby. Bye.
Oh, don't leave.
I'm gonna get some sleep. I'll need a clear head.
Claude, I don't want to be alone.
Oh. Not even tonight?
I don't want to be alone.
See you later, honey. Bye-bye.
He went straight back to the Belvedere, no stops. Picked up his key at the desk, no messages, took the elevator to the 8th floor. Let himself into room 809, hung out the Do Not Disturb sign, closed and locked the door behind him. I kept a plan on it till around midnight. Then I lifted the Do Not Disturb card from the doorknob and wedged it into the crack of the door. It was a crafty move, and I had just finished doing it craftily when the door opened again in my face.
Huh? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Nothing, sir. I'm making a survey.
What?
I'm from the trotter pole. Trotter pole. It's like the gallop pole, but we're not in so much of a hurry.
Yeah?
Just kindly answer this question. As a Democrat, do you believe... Dewey, huh? I picked up the Do Not Disturb card and wedged it back into the crack of his door. As any house dick knows, except, of course, Tiny Stover, the night paper at the Belvedere, if anybody opens a door like that, the card will fall out, and somebody will always hang it on the knob. Another thing Tiny doesn't know is never to draw to an inside straight. We played 9 different kinds of poker until 5 a.m. when I thought I'd go up and have another look. All was quiet on the 8th floor. From the elevator bank, I could see room 809. The morning paper was shoved under his door, and my Do Not Disturb sign was apparently where I had planted it. I tiptoed up to make sure.
Huh? Who are you? What do you want?
Me? The paper boy, sir. Your morning paper.
You get around. Well.
Good news in the paper, sir?
Interesting. Jewelry store heist up on Grant Avenue.
Oh, yes, sir. Our paper only covers... What? I grabbed the paper from under 805. It was the headline I could have expected if Spicer had left his room without my knowing it. Grayson's Jewelry Store, the shop he and Maxine had cased that afternoon, had been taken for an estimated $1 million in uncut gems. But Spicer's door hadn't been opened, and there was no other exit. I sat down and thought. And what I thought of was that sticker on the front door of Grayson's said, "These premises protected by Dick Foley Detective Agency." When the 6 a.m. Oakland ferry boat felt its way blindly out of the slip, Claude Spicer was aboard, and so was I. Should have been getting lighter, but it wasn't. The fog was thickening over the harbor, and most of the passengers were inside drinking coffee. Spicer didn't go in. He climbed up to the boat deck and stood at the rail under the pilot's house. I planted between 2 wet paint signs and waited. Not for long. I couldn't make out any features on the man who came up and joined him. They stood face to face, not more than a foot apart, and talked in voices that couldn't get to me through the racket of the foghorns in the harbor. What spoke loud enough for me to hear was a gun. They seemed to fall into each other's arms, then collapsed in a heap on the deck. And when I got to the spot, only the dead one was there. It was Spicer. The other man had disappeared around the corner of the deck house. A ray of light from the pilot's window swept over him, and I saw gunmetal shine in his hand and then spin out over the rail as he threw it.
What? Oh, it's you, Sam. Oh, I was afraid you'd lost him.
What did you do it for, Dick?
I had my reasons, Sam. Now, trust me, I'll keep you in the clear.
How long? As long as I go on playing sucker for you?
What do you think I hired you for?
Maybe I was supposed to say you killed him in self-defense. Maybe I was supposed to see him making passes at your wife if you needed that.
But, Sam, you've got
I've worked for killers before. I've even worked for thieves, but not for a detective that knocks over a place he's supposed to be protecting.
Sam, it's not as simple...
Save it for the cops, Dick. I'm turning you in when we get to Oakland.
No, you're not, Sam.
Dick, come back here.
Let go, me. I'm going over the side. If you try to stop me, you're going with me.
He fought away from me, got 1 foot over the rail, and kicked out at me with the other. It caught me on the point of the chin. I stumbled forward and grabbed out blind. I must have caught him by the belt just as he jumped. I remember something pulling me halfway over the rail and trying to get free of it. I did, but not soon enough. I was in midair, and the black water came rushing up to meet me.
The makers of Wild Root Cream Oil are presenting the weekly Sunday adventure of Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, Sam Spade. Now, here's important news on good grooming. If you want the well-groomed look that helps you get ahead socially and on the job, listen. Recently, thousands of people from coast to coast who bought Wild Root Cream Oil for the first time were asked, how does Wild Root Cream Oil compare with the hair tonic you previously used? The results were amazing. Better than 4 out of 5 who replied said they preferred Wild Root Cream Oil. Remember, non-alcoholic Wild Root Cream Oil contains lanolin. It grooms the hair naturally, relieves dryness, and removes loose, ugly dandruff. So if you want your hair to be more attractive than ever before, get the generous new 25-cent size of Wild Root Cream Oil, America's leading hair tonic, on sale at all drug and toilet goods counters. It's also available in larger economy bottles and the handy new tube. Get Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men and women and children, too. By the way, smart girls use Wild Root Cream Oil, too. And mothers say it's grand for training children's hair. And now, back to the Dick Foley Caper. Tonight's adventure with Sam Spade.
I found myself mechanically keeping afloat somehow and trying to get out of my coat. I felt heavy and logged as if I'd swallowed gallons of water. The murk hung low and thick. There was nothing else to be seen anywhere. I swallowed what felt like several more gallons before I got rid of the coat. From out of the misty fog blanket, from every direction, in a dozen different keys, from near and far, foghorns sounded. I stopped swimming and floated on my back, trying to determine my whereabouts. After a while, I picked out the moaning, evenly spaced blasts of the Alcatraz siren, but they came out of the fog without direction. Seemed to beat down on me from straight above. I was somewhere in San Francisco Bay, and that was all I knew, and I suspected the current was sweeping me out toward the Golden Gate. Then a light came up ahead of me suddenly. A boat passing a few yards away. I lifted my head and screamed. But the boat siren, crying its warning, drowned out my shouts. It went on past, and the fog closed in behind it. Then I heard a new sound. Seagulls. I swam towards it, and it seemed to get lighter. Part of it was the dawn light beginning to cut through the fog blanket. But there was also a strange-looking man standing on the water and waving a green lantern back and forth. I yelled at him to wait for me, and a seagull got off his hat and flew away. When I got closer, I saw that it was not a man, but only a buoy, channel type. I used all the strength I had left to drag myself up on the base of it and let it rock me to sleep.
Hey, mate.
Pour some more of the brandy into him, Gus.
Yeah. Here. Get some of this down.
Where are we?
Hey, it ain't heaven. You can tell that by the smell.
Oh, Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah, take it easy. We got ambulance coming. You going to the hospital?
No, I'll be okay. Hey, give me a hand.
Yeah, okay. Hey, you do us a favor, will you? Don't fall down till you get out of sight this time. We're tired of picking you up.
I thanked the two kindly old fisher folk for their interest in my welfare, totted up the pier, fell into a taxi, and went home. While I soaked out some of my aches and pains and chills, I did some stewing about the caper so far and stewed up enough anger to carry me through to the finish. I checked the Coast Guard for news of Dick Foley. They told me his body hadn't been recovered yet. I got dressed and went over to his office. The cops hadn't been there. I went through the file cabinet. And what I found under Foley Private had me so interested that I didn't hear Maxine come in until she closed the door.
What are you looking for?
You, baby. I'm for you.
Sam.
Come here.
Oh, Sam.
Nice. Huh?
Oh, you dirty...
Now, don't be mad, Maxine. A gun makes a woman bulge in the wrong place.
It's not my gun.
We'll see.
Sam,
Shut up. Now, starting with the rap Spicer went up for, the same pattern. The way you worked this one tells me how you worked it the first time. You get something on a private detective. The first time, 5 years ago, it was Dick's partner, Mickey Lanahan. I don't know what Spicer had on him, but I do know he forced Dick to knock over Grayson's jewelry store last night.
I won't listen to you.
Okay, I'll talk to myself. I'm not saying you killed Mickey Lanahan, but Dick did frame an alibi for you, didn't he? Didn't he?
Oh, you're hurting me.
Good. Try spending a night swimming around in circles in the middle of the harbor sometime. See how you like that.
All right, it's true. Dick did help me out of that old jam. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud our love was that important to him.
No, Spicer. That same old double-cross, only this time I'm standing where Dick did 5 years ago. Dick was set up as a patsy the same way Mickey Lanahan was, but he got smart and pulled the trigger first.
Stop it. Stop it.
Where did that hurt?
You fool. I loved Dick.
Yeah.
I loved him. That's something you can't understand, but it happens that way, no matter what people are.
You sound as if you really mean that. But you're a little late, aren't you?
He's not dead, I'm sure he isn't.
If he's not, he's really in trouble.
What do you mean by that?
I found something here in the files that Dick left, just in case Spicer got to him first.
What is it?
A confession to Mickey Linehan's murder.
That's impossible.
Were you there?
What are you going to do with it?
Turn it over to the police.
But if he's still alive...
It still counts, unless he shows and revokes it, but I don't think he will.
Why?
Because I won't back up a self-defense plea on the Spicer shooting.
But you were Dick's friend. You were his friend.
I wouldn't ask him to do it for me.
Then what can I do for him? I'll do anything at all.
Well, if he stays away, he's as good as dead. If he comes back, you'll get a jury trial. And if there are more men than women in the panel, he'd probably be acquitted on your testimony alone.
Do you really think he might have a chance?
With a jury, there's always a chance.
But where is he? How can I get word to him?
Well, if he's not fish food by now, there's one sure way of smoking him out.
Something I can do.
Nobody else.
Oh, please, tell me anything.
Sign a confession of your own.
Confession?
Not Mickey Linehan's murder or anything they might nail you for. Swear that you shot Spicer.
What?
Well, you can always renege. Make both of you look good, sacrificing for each other. How about it?
All right. Tell me what to write.
I did. She signed it. I had Effie dispatch it to all the papers and news services, and then I brought it down to the hall. Naturally, you didn't believe a word of her confession, Dundee, but when I took you aside and explained my stratagem, you endorsed it heartily and had her booked. She pressed my hand and thanked me. The look of resignation on her face was so real it was hard to believe she was faking. When she turned her back to follow the matron down the corridor, I saw why. On the back of her coat, there was a smear of white paint. I remembered the wet paint signs on the Oakland ferry boat. Dick Foley gave himself up an hour after her confession hit the street. Screamed and yelled at everybody in homicide, trying to convince them that Maxine was innocent and he should take the full rap. But I'm afraid I queered that when we confronted him with the autopsy surgeon's report. He tried to bluff even then when he read it.
Pellet A ended right side between third and fourth ribs, penetrated left lung. Pellet B, pleural membrane, side wound punctured. Well, so what, Sam?
All three on the right side, angling up, you see?
No! I don't know why. You even saw me on that boat. You saw me throw the gun over
Oh,
him.
cut it out, Dick. What I saw was in the dark. But you two men were facing each other directly. If I were going to drop a man fast at close range, face to face like that, I would not put the gun in my left hand, twist it around, straining my wrist in the process, and pull the trigger with my thumb. Unless I were left-handed, double-jointed, and a trickier shot than you are. I'd blast him straight through the middle.
All right. All right, yes, it was Maxine.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Maybe you can get cured now. Why don't you open up some more? Let me put it down like it was business.
All right, sir.
Number one, Maxine killed your partner, Mickey Linehan, 5 years ago. Probable motive to eliminate him and send Spicer up for it.
Yeah, she didn't figure on Spicer being smart enough to confess to the robbery, and that alibied him for the murder.
2, you perjured yourself to clear Maxine of the murder. Motive? To prevent the truth about your partner from coming out, and Maxine. It was motive enough for anything.
Cut it out, will you?
Sorry. 3, Spicer forced you to team up with him in the jewelry heist. How?
Well, he threatened to make a full confession as accessory to Mickey's killing. That would have put the whole works on Maxine and leave him in the clear.
Yeah. Can't be tried twice for the same crime. 4, you decided to rub out Spicer whether you could beat the rap or not and clear the books once and for all. So you pretended to play along with him, told Maxine to do the same, and called me in as umpire.
Yeah. Sam, I'm sorry. Why couldn't you lay off Maxine? Why did you have to... Oh, I thought you were my friend.
And that's about it. Period. End of friendship.
Oh. You mean the confession that you tricked her into making turned out to...
That's it, Effie.
Oh. What'll happen to him?
Hmm?
What about Dick Foley?
Dick? Oh, they got him on a number of things, I suppose. May take some time out of him. But I think he'll be an okay guy again.
With her out of the way.
With her out of the way.
Sam?
Go and type it up, will you? It's late. I want to get out of here.
And now, listen to this. When it comes to hair tonics, the best friend of the family is Wild Root Cream Oil. Wild Root Cream Oil grooms the hair neatly and naturally, relieves dryness, removes loose dandruff. Now, you can get America's leading hair tonic in the new 25-cent Get Acquainted size. Also, ask your barber for a professional application of Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Again and again, the choice of men and women and children, too.
Well, here it is, Sam. I know how you must feel, so I won't...
What's your hurry?
Well, I thought, well, you know how you always feel.
Look, sweetheart, Dick Foley was a private dick. So what?
You mean you can bring yourself to talk about it?
Sure. Go ahead, try me.
Well, Sam, it seems terribly complicated. I suppose because Mr. Foley was in the profession and thinks like you do.
Up to a point, Effie. What's bothering you?
Well, why did he call you in? You, another private detective, and he knew how smart you are and all, and...
Yeah. I don't know, maybe he thought, well, if I turned up anything, I'd look the other way.
Do you think that could ever happen to you, Sam? That's a clever phrase you dictated. He called me in as umpire. That's baseball. But if he was so clever, why didn't he win, Sam?
His mistake, Effie, was trying a quadruple play which has never been heard of in the history of baseball or crime. All he wanted was to bat Maxine home safe. But it usually figures when 3 men are out, the side retires.
Oh, well, I don't understand baseball, Sam.
And that's all right. Football will be here soon anyway.
Oh, but I don't...
Good night, Levy.
Good night, Sam.
Good night, sweetheart.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, are produced and directed by William Spear. Sam Spade is played by Howard Duff. Lorene Tuttle is Effie. The Adventures of Sam Spade are written for radio by Bob Tallman and Gil Dowd. Musical direction by Lud Gluskin, with score composed by Renee Garrigang. Join us again next Sunday when author Dashiell Hammett and producer William Spear join forces for another adventure with Sam Spade. Brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. This is Dick Joy reminding you to...
Get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. It keeps your hair in trim. You say it's non-alcoholic, Charlie. It's made with soothing lanolin. You better get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. Start using it today. You'll find that you will have a tough time, Charlie. Keeping all the gals away. Hiya, Baldy. Get Wild Root right away.
Keep it tuned right here to HOJO Radio for more classic old-time radio.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective. Brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic, the non-alcoholic hair tonic that contains lanolin. Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first.
Detective Agency.
They offered me a cool $1.5 million, but I couldn't be bought.
Oh, Sam, all the time fooling.
Straight goods, Effie.
Oh, really, Sam? Why didn't you take it? Oh, but you couldn't, of course.
That's right, Angel. Taxes.
Oh, you mean it would put you in a bracket?
The girl's name, in case you were going to ask, was Sugar Cane.
Was she sweet?
Oh, Effie, you made a joke.
Oh, not much of one, no.
That is true, but even though you do seem to be, as you would say, in a jugular vein, I shall be right down, serious and frowning, to dictate a chronicle steeped in the bitter tea of general confusion, brewed in a witch's cauldron of murder, greed, and avarice. That's what gives it that nutty flavor.
What, Sam?
Silly girl, I refer to the sugar cane caper, on which I will forthwith my report be down to dictate on, goodbye.
Dashiell Hammett, America's leading detective fiction writer and creator of Sam Spade, the hard-boiled private eye, and William Spear, radio's outstanding producer-director of mystery and crime drama, join their talents to make your hair stand on end with the adventures of Sam Spade. Presented by the makers of Wild Root Cream Oil for the hair. Want to look better on the job? Get Wild Root Cream Oil. Want to look better to that gal of yours? Get Wild Root Cream Oil. Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic improves your entire appearance by grooming your hair neatly and naturally, relieving dryness, removing loose dandruff. If your family hasn't yet enjoyed the benefits of America's leading hair tonic, here's what to do about it. Ask at your drug or toilet goods counter for the new 25-cent get-acquainted bottle of Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Again and again, the choice of men and women and children, too. And now, with Howard Duff starring as Spade, Wild Root brings to the air the greatest private detective of them all in the adventures of Sam Spade.
Sam. You were so lugubrious over the phone. Sometimes you're so bucolic, but tonight...
What am I? When?
Lugubrious tonight. Just bubbling over.
Do you possibly mean I'm being lush with my verbiage?
There, you see?
Well, that's because I've been at work in the environs of Snob Hill, where they never use one word if 12 will do. Are you ready for the dictation, I guess it is? I plan to be most amusing tonight. Already I am, yet. Look, I haven't even started.
Oh.
Really, I haven't. All right. Now, pencil. Date. Alan should have such an audience. Date. October 3rd, 1948, to Clifton Cavanaugh, Esquire. Down, Effie. From Samuel Spade, license number 1375596. Subject, the sugar cane caper. On Thursday last, at 11 a.m., as I waited for the traffic signal so that I might legally cross Powell Street in order to board a cable car, a cat rubbed up against my leg. I leaned over to stroke it and noticed that it had 6 toes. I wondered if that meant anything. It didn't. Most Nob Hill addresses don't mean much anymore, but yours still does. The house was big, hideous, and reassuring.
Oh. Are you from Pfeffersnell?
No, I'm in business for myself. Mr. Cavanaugh in?
Oh. Well, come on in. I can't understand what happened to that boy from Pfeffersnell. Oh, pardon me if I seem a little hungover.
Gladly, but can you ever forgive yourself?
I like you. You got a sense of humor. You'll need it.
You trying to tell me you don't approve of Mr. Cavanaugh?
That perfume pothead.
What did he do to you?
He married my mother.
Oh. Stepfather?
Yeah. No, I'm Fred Blair.
Spade's my name. Where do I find him?
Detective?
Check.
I'll give you a clue. Look behind you.
I did. I turned and found myself looking straight into your handsome face. You looked several years younger than your stepson, with regular aquiline features, dark, widely spaced eyes, and blue-black hair.
Well, so you're the notorious Sam Spade.
Well, I don't want to seem modest.
Come into the conservatory. There's just the barest chance that we'll not be overheard.
Good.
There. Sit down.
What's your problem, Mr. Cavanaugh?
Problem indeed. Problems, plural. Starting with that junior grade lush that collared you at the door.
He's very fond of you, too.
Well, you can't imagine what a trial that boy's been to me. Both the children. For some reason, neither Fred nor his sister Eunice ever quite accepted me as their father.
You don't say.
I suppose my youth counted against me. I think they misinterpreted my motives. When any man marries a wealthy widow twice his age...
Yeah. Why did you send for me, Mr. Cavanaugh?
Well, it all started several months back, before my wife, their mother, where was I? Oh, died. The scandal quite literally killed her.
You're sure that's what did the trick?
Fred, who, among other talents, was a positive genius for knowing the wrong sort of people, struck up an acquaintance with a hoodlum named Johnny Verona.
Nice, clean-cut gangster type, runs a joint on Pacific Street.
Precisely. With the positively hysterical name of the Subtropico.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a sordid brawl of some sort. A man shot. Obviously, this Johnny Verona shot him. Fred had to give testimony before the grand jury. It was all we could do to keep it out of the paper.
But you did.
No. And old Eleanor, my wife, that is, dropped dead when the butler brought in the Chronicle. But the worst was yet to come, Sam.
Well, don't keep me hanging, Cliff.
Well, Fred continued to frequent this bistro, this dive of Verona's.
I understand.
I believe the bait is a toothsome little teaser with the unlikely name of Sugar Cane.
She likes Fred.
No woman in her right mind would look twice at that idiot, even if he were twice as rich and only half as sodden. Then, where was I? Oh, yes, this This Verona person came here several times on the pretext of pouring Fred through the front door and thereby met my stepdaughter, Eunice.
Well, that's a very interesting story, Mr. Cavanaugh. Now, maybe you'll tell me what you want a detective for.
Because my stepdaughter has brazenly informed me that she intends to marry this gangster. I want you to help me prevent that marriage.
I don't see.
Don't see what?
I don't see how I can.
Well, perhaps I didn't make myself clear. When Verona was arrested for that shooting in his club, Fred didn't tell the grand jury all he knew. Now, if you could prove that Verona is guilty, then we'd be rid of him for good.
Is it Verona you want to get rid of or your stepson?
Good Lord, you don't think Fred did it?
Do you?
Why, no, of course not.
Okay, supposing Verona did it, then Fred goes up on a perjury rap, maybe accessory.
Oh. Well, I have no overwhelming desire to injure Fred.
Look, why don't you tell me what you have an overwhelming desire for?
Well, under the terms of her mother's will, Eunice will inherit $3 million as soon as she marries.
When?
When what?
When do I meet her?
Be serious, Matt. Now, I will pay Verona $50,000 in cash if he'll stay away from her.
Would you take $50,000 as the payoff in a $3 million caper?
In this instance, yes. Eunice is not very well, and you may quote me on that. Book, chapter, and verse.
To Johnny Verona?
To Johnny Verona.
Okay. Water's mighty cold this time of the year at the bottom of the bay, but if you don't care, I don't.
Thank you. Let me know how it comes out.
Don't give it a second thought. You'll know. Don't get up, Mr. Cavanaugh. I know the way out.
Hey, Spade, wait up.
Well, you look a little better.
Listen, there's something you ought to know. He was my sister's boyfriend before he married my mother. He did it out of revenge because Eunice threw him over. He still wants to marry her.
Any particular reason?
Oh, my mother put that crazy marriage clause in her will. He's been systematically getting rid of every man who's been interested in her. Bought him off, threatened him off any way he could. Why? He thinks Eunice will eventually marry him to get her inheritance. But she won't. She'll kill him first, and if she doesn't, I'll do it for her.
Fred.
Oh, yeah?
Fred, what on earth are you saying? Who is this man?
Well, he's the detective.
Sam Spade. You're Eunice Blair?
Yes, I want to talk to you. Fred, go and...
Yeah. See you later, Spade.
I know why my stepfather hired you, Mr. Spade. If you need the money, go ahead. But this time it won't work.
You look as if you'd like to be a nice girl. How did you happen to settle for a cheap grifter like Johnny Verona?
Because we understand each other, and he can't be scared off.
Any message I can take him from you?
Tell Johnny I'll meet him at the usual place. And tell him I still like my coffee black. No sugar.
I didn't ask her what kind of sugar she didn't want any of. I thought I knew.
Hey, wait.
The only thing wrong with Sugar Cane's dance was her dancing, but the customers didn't seem to mind, and I didn't either. It was a pleasure to size her up carefully, as I would have felt obliged to do anyway in my professional capacity. She was a black-haired number with aquiline features and widely spaced dark eyes. It was a beautiful combination, and I wondered where I'd seen it before quite recently. I decided to find out.
Hey, what's the idea of barging in here after me? Can't you see the sign on the door? No customers in the dressing room.
Then let's go someplace else. I want to talk to you.
Beat it.
Take it easy. This is on business.
Good. I'll fix it up with the boss. Johnny!
Yeah, Sugar? What's the matter? Is Joe giving you trouble?
You trailed in here after me, the cheap masher, on the pretext of discussing business affairs.
Okay, out you go.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Come on, move.
And don't come back.
Well?
Sorry, I had to give that bum's rush routine. I don't want to get her excited. She's a nice kid, and she doesn't know why you're here.
I take it you do.
Yeah. Eunice called me and told me you'd be down.
Okay, Johnny, I'll give it to you fast and get out. Clifton Cavanaugh will pay you $50,000 to leave Eunice alone. He also made a few idle or not so idle threats about what might happen to her if you don't take his money.
For example?
He said she hasn't been feeling well, might not live long enough to get married. I don't have to tell you what I think about that kind of talk, and I wouldn't be peddling it if my office rent wasn't due. That's why when you started giving me that bum's rush, I made only, shall we say, a token resistance.
Yeah. About me marrying Eunice, you can tell Clifton to stop worrying.
Hmm?
Yeah, Eunice and I got married 3 weeks ago.
You what?
Married. You want to see the papers?
Why the secrecy?
Don't want her to get hurt.
You're scared of Clifton?
Nah, Sugar. She's got a very low boiling point. Pardon me. Yeah. Yeah, Nick. What is? Go ahead. Yeah, I heard you. No, don't touch anything. Don't let anybody in. I'll be right over.
Bad news?
Yeah, Eunice. She's dead.
How?
One of my boys found her in my apartment. She was supposed to wait for me there.
How did it happen?
He's not sure. He thinks she took poison.
I had to give Johnny Verona one thing. He didn't make any pretense about being grief-stricken. And after all, he just inherited $3 million. Sugar Kane took it standing up, too, but she just lost a rival and got her man back $3 million richer. I wasn't with you when you got the news, Mr. Cavanaugh. But the one I really wondered about was Eunice's brother, Fred. What brought that on was something I picked up in Johnny Verona's apartment where we found Eunice's body sprawled out over a tray of coffee things. It was a medicine bottle with a doctor's prescription number on the label. The name of the druggist that had put it up was Pfefferschnau. I remembered what Fred had said to me when he admitted me to your house that afternoon. Quote, "Are you the man from Pfefferschnau's?" I wondered if I'd answered yes, would Eunice still be alive?
The makers of Wild Root Cream Oil are presenting the weekly Sunday adventure of Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, Sam Spade. Now, here's important news on good grooming. If you want the well-groomed look that helps you get ahead, socially and on the job, listen. Recently, thousands of people from coast to coast who bought Wild Root Cream Oil for the first time were asked, how does Wild Root Cream Oil compare with the hair tonic you previously used? The results were amazing. Better than 4 out of 5 who replied said they preferred Wild Root Cream Oil. Remember, non-alcoholic Wild Root Cream Oil contains lanolin. It grooms the hair naturally, relieves dryness, and removes loose, ugly dandruff. So if you want your hair to be more attractive than ever before, get the generous new 25-cent size of Wild Root Cream Oil, America's leading hair tonic, on sale at all drug and toilet goods counters. It's also available in larger economy bottles and the handy new tube. Get Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. By the way, smart girls use Wild Root Cream Oil, too, and mothers say it's grand for training children's hair. And now, back to the Sugar Cane Caper. Tonight's adventure with Sam Spade.
The morning papers didn't carry anything new on Eunice's death. Cause was put down to an overdose of a toxic drug. The doctor who prescribed it said she'd requested it for migraine headaches, which he suggested might have driven her to suicide. He did not explain why she had taken 4 doses in capsule form and dissolved the rest of it in a decanter of coffee. I thought somebody else had dosed the coffee, and so did you, Mr. Cavanaugh.
Verona did it, of course. He knew she was taking those pills and dosed the coffee just enough to be fatal when added to what she took voluntarily.
You knew all that, too.
Well, so did Fred.
But you had more reasons, 3 million more.
But they were already married.
You know that when you hired me?
Yes.
Then how come?
I knew she was planning to do away with herself. I thought if we could pin it on Verona, after all, he's guilty of that old murder. Fred's a witness to that. Well, if he were convicted, the money would revert to me.
Nuts.
You don't believe me?
She wasn't planning suicide, and you know it.
Well, then?
I don't care who takes the fall, but I got less on Verona than I got on you.
Then I'll give you something. Here. Take a look. Verona's lawyer sent this around before her body was cold. A claim for $3 million, notarized yesterday while Eunice was still alive. Well, Mr. Spade?
Pardon me while I drop dead. You did and waited hopefully, but I managed to stay on my feet. I even managed to make it down the hall to the bar where I found your stepson ambushed behind a row of empty bottles.
Fine detective you turn out to be. I warned you. Stand up like a man. That's all right. I'll take on both of you.
Come on, sober up. Makes sense.
Where's my drink? Who took my glass?
Here it is.
Give me it.
Sure.
You spill it. Ooh, ice on my shirt.
Listen to me. This is very important.
Important?
You were expecting a delivery from a drugstore when I arrived here yesterday morning. Who ordered it?
She did. Eunice. She told me to watch for it and bring it to her.
Did you do that?
No, she wasn't here.
What did you do with that bottle of medicine?
I'm sleepy. I gotta get some rest.
Wake up!
No.
I said, wake up!
Leave me alone.
Now, listen. You took that bottle with you when you went out. Where did you take it?
I tell you, will you let me go to sleep?
You took that bottle with you, didn't you?
You're guessing. I know you're third degree.
You went to Verona's apartment, didn't you?
Two gentlemen of Verona. Willie Shakespeare.
You doped that coffee, didn't you, with the poison that killed your sister?
I didn't mean it for her. I didn't know she was going there.
Go on talking.
I want a lawyer. I know my rights.
Listen, I'm not a cop. I'm not taking a statement. You're too drunk for it to hold anyway, so you can tell me.
Okay. Here's how it happened. She took her 4 pills and went to bed.
Yeah?
I sneaked the bottle out of the medicine chest, and I went over to his place. His boy Nick was there making coffee for the boss, he said, when he got home. I hung around talking for a while, and I stripped some of the stuff in the percolator while he was getting out the cups. And that's all.
Why did you want to kill Johnny Verona?
So Eunice wouldn't have to marry him.
What do you mean, have to?
Well, she was doing it for me, so he'd keep quiet.
About that brawl in the club, that old killing they tried to nail Johnny for?
Yeah, that's it. The gun that did it. He got rid of it before the cops arrived. That was my gun.
Fred, straighten up. Look.
Yeah.
Johnny dictated the story you told the grand jury. How do I know he didn't dictate the one you're telling me now? Who are you covering for?
I didn't say anything. I didn't tell you anything. Get out of here!
What's the matter with you?
Get out the window!
The revolver barrel that crashed through the darkened window pane behind the bar spoke twice. I answered it. I looked out into the darkness, making myself a good enough target to draw some fire. I fired back at the flashes. I was depending more on luck than aim, and luck was what I wasn't having much of. I went back to the place where Fred had fallen. The shots that had dropped him were luckier. He'd been dead before he hit the floor.
What is it? What's happened here?
See for yourself.
Who?
Shot through the window. Couldn't see anything but the gun muzzle. Looked like a .45.
Johnny Verona, he packs a .45.
Who told you that?
It came out at that investigation. One of the reasons they couldn't indict for that old shooting.
There were a lot of reasons they couldn't get that indictment.
What are you driving at?
Neither one of the leading suspects was guilty.
I don't follow you.
Sugar Kane did that job.
Oh, that's wild.
What if I told you Fred made a statement to that effect before he was shot?
You're lying. He confessed.
Did I tell you that?
Well, he must have. He always talked about it when he was drunk.
All right. I was bluffing.
Why?
Just a crazy hunch. I thought there might be something between you and Sugar. Now I'm sure there isn't.
Of course not.
Should have spotted it before. You're too much the same type. Even look alike.
I can't make you out.
Well, don't try. It's not worth it. You better call homicide about Fred here. Tell Lieutenant Dundee if he wants my statement, I'll be at my apartment. After I pretended to leave, I came back and did a little eavesdropping of my own. You didn't phone homicide, but you did spend an hour filing out the barrel of a .45 automatic. Then you went out. I tailed you to an address on Sloat Boulevard. A short time after you went in, Sugar Kane came out alone. I followed her to, you know the answer, my apartment. I went in the back way via the fire escape and arrived in time to answer her buzz.
Oh, Mr. Spade, thank heaven I found you at home.
So am I. Come in.
I know it's terribly late.
Forget it. Won't you take off your coat or something?
Can't stay very long. It's not safe. I may have been followed here.
Oh, surely not.
Sam, you don't mind if I call you Sam?
No.
I'm so frightened. It's about Johnny Verona. I don't know what he may do. He's convinced that Fred killed Eunice, and he's out gunning for him right now. We've got to stop him before he does anything rash.
You come to the wrong party, Sugar. I'm working for the enemy.
Enemy?
Kavanaugh.
Oh.
It's no skin off his nose if Johnny Verona drops Fred Blair or if you all drop. All he does is sit back and collect.
Oh, he can't be as cynical as that.
You ought to know.
Has he told you anything about me?
I'd rather hear it from you.
May we sit down? Well, there's not much to tell. I played along with Johnny for one reason and one reason alone. To save Fred from that old murderette.
Were you figuring on marrying into that family, too?
Oh,
Sam. A regular pincers movement, wasn't it? Johnny and Eunice, you and Fred.
All right. It's true I wasn't in love with Fred, but it wasn't all the money. I was sorry for him. Money's not what I really want. I know that now.
What do you want?
Someone. Someone I can trust.
Me too, sugar.
Oh, Sam, you're what I want. Say you want me to. Please say it. Don't answer it, Sam.
Why not?
Johnny may have followed me here. He's insanely jealous.
Well, I gotta face it out with him sooner or later. Might as well be now.
Sam, be careful.
Stand out of the way, sugar.
No, Sam. No, please.
Don't reach, Johnny.
I'm not gunning for you, Spade.
In that case, come on in.
Well, sugar. I didn't believe him that you were coming here.
I had to, Johnny. He got some crazy confession out of Fred while he was drunk. I had to stall him till you and Cliff could talk to him. To save Fred, I mean.
Oh, stop horsing around. We all know that we all know Fred is dead, and we all know that we all know who killed him.
Then Cliff was leveling. You are trying to pin that on me.
I don't need it, but if you want it, you can have it.
There's $3 million in my part of it. I'll split down the middle with you. If you throw in with them, it's a three-way split.
There's no split at all if you take the rap for Eunice's killing, and you will if you throw in with me. It's their word against mine. 2 witnesses against 1, and all I've got is a confession by a drunk who is now dead.
Sam. Oh, Sam, I was sure for a moment you...
Get away from me.
Sam,
Go on. Go to work on him. I should have given you a little more time. That wasn't fair, was it, Sugar?
I hate you. I hate you both. I never want to see you again.
Get back in that room, Sugar.
Cliff.
What happened, Sugar? Why were you running away?
Johnny double-crossed us. Now Sam knows everything.
What does he know?
The whole caper. Part of it I wasn't quite sure of until I saw you and Sugar standing side by side. That blue-black hair, the same eyes, plus the fact that the bell on Sugar's apartment on Sloat Boulevard reads Kane, parenthesis, Kavanaugh. You took a crazy chance when you knocked off Fred with me right there in the room. The kind of a crazy chance a brother would take to keep his sister clear.
I could have told you that.
It would have helped a lot, Johnny, but you didn't. When a man lets his sister go on dancing in a joint like yours after he's in the chips and she goes on liking it, you can be sure they're both playing for big stakes and for nobody but themselves. Where do you think you were supposed to wind up, Johnny? I'll tell you. Drinking that poison coffee that Eunice got hold of by mistake.
That isn't true, Johnny. I never told Fred a thing. He thought you really loved Eunice. I don't know how he found out you were forcing her into that marriage.
Did you also neglect to tell him that he was innocent? That you pulled the trigger in that old killing and shoved a gun into his hand when he was too drunk to know what he was doing?
I've heard enough. Watch it, Johnny.
No!
I winged you a split second before you fired. Your aim went wild. All I saw at first was that it missed Johnny. Then I saw him move forward in her direction. She was leaning against the wall, a puzzled expression on her face, her hand plucking nervously at a spot of red that was spreading against the white of her dress. He caught her as she pitched forward and carried her over to a couch. She didn't speak again. You and Johnny knelt beside her until the cops arrived. If you were aware of each other's presence, neither of you showed it. Period. End of report.
That was a sad ending, Sam.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry it ended so sadly.
Well, it was bound to, one way or the other. There wasn't anybody in the whole gallery that thought about anybody but himself. Except poor Fred, I guess, and his only friends arrived in bottles and left in the ash can.
All those millions and millions. We'll get the money now, Sam.
I'm glad you asked that. It leaves me cold. Go type that up while I knit myself a sweater.
And now, listen to this. It's the smart mother who sees to it that Wild Root Cream Oil is always kept handy around the house. For she knows that Wild Root Cream Oil grooms her family's hair neatly and naturally, relieves dryness, removes loose dandruff. Get acquainted by asking for the new 25-cent bottle. Also, ask your barber for a professional application of Wild Root Cream Oil Hair Tonic. Again and again, the choice of men and women and children, too.
Terrible group of unfortunates. As you say, it just had to end badly.
If you hope to get back in my good graces by quoting me to trick me into agreeing with you, you have succeeded.
There you go, Sam. So lugubrious.
Effie, what is this? What means lugubrious?
Oh, Sam, it's wonderful. It's my new habit.
Oh?
Every time I read a book now. And, like you read a book and there's a word you don't know what it means or you're not sure.
Yeah.
Well, I make it a practice now to write down and learn 3 new words per day.
Well.
And learn the definitions to use them in conversation. Like desultory.
And lugubrious?
Yes, that's one of my 3 for today. You see? Lugubrious. Right here it is. To talk a great deal. Bucolic, state of being sorrowful. And verbose to be out in the country.
I see. Very praiseworthy. Enlarging your vocabulary.
Yes,
love it.
I am. But I don't expect to be really lugubrious for the nonsense.
Look, Effie, why don't you go verbose for the weekend? It's the best cure for the bucolic.
Oh, Sam, look what I've done.
What have you done?
I've clipped the wrong definitions to the right words.
Well.
For instance, lugubrious, well, it isn't that at all. And bucolic, let me see. Oh, Sam, I've learned them wrong.
I wasn't going to tell you, Effie. It's better to find out for yourself. It's more, efficacious.
My new habit. Oh. Good night, Sam.
Good night, sweetheart.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, are produced and directed by William Spear. Sam Spade is played by Howard Duff. Lorene Tuttle is Effie. The Adventures of Sam Spade are written for radio by Bob Tallman and Gil Dowd. Musical direction by Lud Gluskin with score composed by Renee Garrigan. Join us again next Sunday when author Dashiell Hammett and producer William Spear join forces for another adventure with Sam Spade. Brought to you by Wild Root Cream Oil. Again and again, the choice of men who put good grooming first. This is Dick Joy reminding you to
get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. It keeps your hair in trim. You see, it's non-alcoholic, Charlie. It's made with soothing lanolin. You better get Wild Root Cream Oil, Charlie. Start using it today. You'll find that you will have a tough time, Charlie, keeping all the gals away. Hiya, Baldy. Get Wild Root right away.
Thanks for listening to HOJO Radio. We'll be back again very soon.